Everybody, welcome to Plat Chat Valorant, episode 155. He's back, the king, Balla. I've missed you. And also, special guests in the building. We've got the worldwide show today. Minnie joining us from Gloucester. William Chobra joining us from, I don't know where you're located. And also, I don't think Minnie's in Gloucester. That's the first place I could think of because that's where Brendan's from.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of close to Gloucester, so I was like, is that just a Wikipedia error or something? But no, I'm not from Gloucester.
I mean, well, listen, not a bad guess. Close enough.
Have you ever been to the cheese rolling competition?
I have not.
What?
No. I think that's a bigger thing to outsiders than I don't think it's a real thing.
Oh, I mean, it's very
a big
real.
Thing here.
It's very real because we showed a clip from it and we got DMCA'd by the local news station that was running it. And that episode's down, right, Kurt?
Yeah, our entire channel got copyright striked, and the video was removed. The entire live stream
for cheese rolling.
Yeah, we showed 1 minute of cheese rolling in a 3-hour video and transformed it live, reacting and commentating over it. And we got a copyright strike. Plat Chat Valor, we're an inch away from this thing being done. And if we're gone, like, hey, good luck. No, there's no one to replace us. So, you know, we're living life on the edge here, but that's fine. All right.
Oh, man.
So, last week, I don't know if you guys heard about this. There were rumblings and discussion about the way Ball is already. I saw Ball shaking his head just a little bit, just a
mini shake, you know.
We did the way too early tier list last week, and now we have. I have a whole new panel here, ready to give their real and honest takes on what occurred. Kurt, bring up the graphic. Now, Chobra, I'd like to start with you. What went wrong?
I mean, a lot. Okay, so this was my first thing, okay? So we saw Zeta at Red Bull, and I, among most people, was very hyped to see the new players, right? I thought they played really well. I thought it was very exciting. I was like, all right, Zeta Division fans can have hope. And then I watched the podcast, and you guys put them in A tier, basically above every other team in Pacific other than the two winners.
Yes.
Which I think is like, we're drinking just gargantuan amounts of hopium, in my opinion, because
I'm ready to fight tooth and nail for Zeta right now. Don't get me going 3 seconds into the show.
The one placement that we could have like gone after that nobody would be there to back it up, but Wyatt was like the guy who went for Zeta, so like he could actually defend himself.
I can't.
Okay, I also hold on,
keep going. I'm not gonna. Kurt, cut my mic off.
Yeah, just to calm you down, so we can move away from Zeta. Okay, like I get it.
No, I gotta be on Zeta too, by the way. Like I'm doubling down on Wyatt hate here.
I can't believe it, but I can't also believe you put global esports next to two teams that don't exist anymore. That's ridiculous. Like, what in the world? One team is perhaps leaving the entire world, and then one team has one player on it.
Okay, well, hold on.
So should we do this?
We can't. All right. At the time, though, EG still, they were clinging on, but now they have descended into the grave. But they were holding on to the edge of the dirt, but they are no longer with us. So that is valid now. That's an update.
Yeah, other than that, for Pacific, I mean, personally, I rate RRQ mega high, but I also was one of the few people that rated them really highly last year, and they just like didn't deliver the actual results I thought they would. So I'll be the lone fan cheering them on.
I'll go with you though. I was high on RRQ too. They just trolled the LCQ by having what's his face be a racist or whatever before the lead up to it. So yeah, that was horrible.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing.
Okay, so your biggest thing is RRQ and Zeta.
And I would switch RRQ and Zeta basically. And
now,
then...
Minnie, did you say you were mad at me for the Zeta thing too?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god. How?
I think if I
swear
like,
to
can we
God,
bring up
the Zeta equation is 2 + 2 = 4. Like what? What are people? What am I seeing that is not being seen by the rest of the world
Can we bring back up
here?
the graphic? So like I think like this is my egotistical way of seeing this. If I was coaching Liquid, Vitality, Furia, Giants, or Cloud9, and I lost the Zeta, I'd feel like I'd not done very well. That's the way that I see it.
There's gonna be a lot of sad coaches. There's gonna be a lot of sad coaches.
Maybe they will be, but yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is I remember listening to you guys, and this is where I turned the pod off. I turned it off when you guys were talking about NRG and Loud, and you guys were like, "Yeah, NRG, they don't, we're based on this roster, blah 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 blah," and then you put them in S tier all of a sudden with the rumored roster being like Stellar and like people.
No, that's
they have
no,
two
no,
players.
no. That's the rumored one if they have Demon 1 and Ethan.
Okay, even still. 2 players, and you're losing your IGL, you're losing all of the experience that you have from that roster, and you're just putting them in S tier just randomly. And then you have the Loud team as well that actually has players that still has that reputation from last year, and you don't put them in S tier. Like, they got to be in the same tier, I feel like, if you're going for anything. If anything, Loud should be slightly higher, but in S tier, and NRG should be down 1. That's the one that I would go at here. And then Na'Vi, who trolled the entirety.
Oh no, I'm with you on the Na'Vi one. I'm not defending that. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know what we were.
I mean, we can move Na'Vi down like 5 spots. I think.
Why is there so many teams in S tier?
Not
Like, what is
B
going
tier.
on?
But
No,
I think
not
S tier
B
is
tier.
like Fnatic Paper Rex.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
But then the whole list gets really weird.
Yeah, we'd
I mean,
have to
that's,
like add 2 more tiers. Yeah.
Yeah, then you're
Like Leviathan, like I think they're really good. but,
Sorry,
like,
how do you say
difficult,
their name? I just
Is
love
it Leviathan? How do you say their name?
I mean, Leviathan, if you were like just saying it in English, and then Leviathan. If you're
Leviathan,
saying,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I'm sorry. That's my that's my 1 year of Spanish coming in hot right there.
That's good.
So yeah, Lev. Like I think like putting a team that's not played any officials, like proper officials, in third is also like it's just an impossible
They played
list. Like
what, Superdome? Like, I think that
yeah,
was.
but what is off season? This I don't know. Like I feel like giving people credit in the off season is like a difficult. Like I want to give them credit when like it's an actual human. When they actually come dominate NA afterwards, like.
All right,
So
so you're
what's the
saying
point
that
of
the
the
way too early tier list is
Oh,
way too
that's the
early.
point. Okay. I guess.
yeah, you have to react in the moment. So
I just don't like the
You're
idea that
thinking,
the whole
and I
community is
don't
going to
like
be
that.
like deflated if they don't win the NA, win the challenge, or what do you call it, VCT? Like,
Well,
if
let's
they
be
don't
honest,
win-
Minnie. We're gonna go into VCT anyways next year, and everybody's gonna be like, "Holy shit, Leviathan is the best scrim team I've ever played against. they're the goats. King is the best player in the world." And then they're gonna play Americas anyways, and everybody's gonna be like, "Wait, they're not as good as what everybody's saying." So, I mean, it's gonna happen anyways.
True. Who
I'm
were you
okay
talking
with
about
this
before though?
Na'Vi
Navi
placement
is
now.
changing with.
Yeah,
If
because they add artists back, and suddenly they're not trolling, and they're back to FPX 2022. I guess is the argument, but like, I mean,
I watched some Navi's VODs yesterday of champs, and they were very close to looking.
yeah, they were much better at
extremely
champs.
good.
Yeah.
Like, they should have beat Loud. They threw the Ascent game really hard. They lost like 4 post plants on B, on the easiest post plant site in the game. Like, yeah.
now, okay.
So I don't know. I'm on some Navi copium maybe.
I think this is reasonable for Na'Vi. The one that I was kind of hung up on as well, and I'm interested to hear your take on this, Chober, is T1. I wanted to have T1 higher, like way higher.
You're gonna have
than
them
B.
higher? What?
Yeah, like higher T1
Dude,
and
I love this. Normally I have Achilleos on for Pacific representation. He's like, "Yeah, Pacific, let's go." And Trevor's just like, "Fuck all these teams."
no, I think T1 should be a couple spots higher. I trust them more than a couple of those
No.
teams.
Okay, I might have agreed last week, but then now that they have 7 players and the only 2 that we know are confirmed on their starting roster are the 2 that didn't play on the T1 last year, I actually have less faith in them now because I just have no idea what's going on. I also think so. I was thinking about this earlier today on my stream. So Coach Autumn was looking for tutors to help the team learn to comm better in English. So I assume they're going full English. But if that's the case, King and Izu probably have some issues until they catch up. So then your assumption is, I guess it's Zeta, Saya, and Carpe, then Excurid and Rossi. Which, I mean, like, it's a fine team on paper, but, like, we just have no idea how that works. So, I don't know. I have a little less faith, but it's more because of a question mark rather than I think they're going to be bad. But I don't know if I would put them higher. If anything, I would put them lower until we figure out what the actual 5 looks like.
Yeah.
I have no opinion on T1.
I can see that. What about Bleed? Do you believe in their potential to be at the top of APAC?
I think so. I mean, I don't think it would be that shocking. I do think, obviously, I think their biggest strength is still just like individual star power, right? And individual mechanics at the best. I mean, I will say at the end of Ascension in the finals against Scars, that was the first time where I was like, oh, they like actually anti-stratted and Crazy Guy like actually read the opponent. Like it was very clear. So I was like, okay, so they're learning to do that a bit better. Obviously, you know, individual wise, they have one of the more stacked rosters, I would say, in Pacific. But how far does that get you against teams like PaperX and DRX? Like, I don't know. So I think they're in the same tier of like RQ, maybe T1 if they sort themselves out to contend for that like 3rd spot to go to the international tournaments. But I would not put them as like a favorite to win.
Got you. Ball, is there anything else that you're seeing here that fills you with unbridled rage?
I don't think so. I think everything else is pretty solid.
Okay, Ball thinks the list is
unfortunate.
perfect.
Like the Koi one's unfortunate. Like Koi shouldn't be that low, but they absolutely could be that low. Like when you got Trex and Shados on your team and you're that low, like it feels bad, man. But it could still happen. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it is tragic. And then before we move on, Minnie, anything else on this list causing you to have desires to put your fist through your monitor, or are we safe to move on?
No. It's all right. I think it's all right. Maybe now I think hierarchy is too high, but that's not. That's fine.
Well, let me remind you of a couple pistol rounds that you almost did throw your hand through your monitor at jams. So maybe Fnatic's a little too. No, I'm just kidding.
I think Fnatic's fine.
All right, lock it in. The list is now perfect. You heard it here first. We did, move EG down to the black hole tier. The Shadow Realm. They have vanished.
I think even if they've just got Calm alone, they could still probably beat some teams. So I think they're getting kind of, it's the org we're kind of flaming here, I feel like.
So
Absolutely
LCS have kicked EG out of franchising. What does this mean for Valorant is the question. Are we heading in the same direction, Balla?
Yeah, so apparently like the LCS teams like met during Worlds or something like that, and a couple of them were asking to leave the league, and EG and Golden Guardians I think were the ones that ended up being the ones. But LCS gave them the option to leave, and EG was like, "Yep, we're out of here." So that has led to another rumor that they're trying to leave esports altogether before the end of the year, meaning that they want to leave Valorant too, which is probably a lot harder to do than LCS, because I think LCS already is having trouble. I think LCS is happy to kind of move down to only 8 teams or whatever. But here we just made a big ass stink about not getting our Ascension team to stay even with the rest of the world in terms of the amount of teams that are in there and go up to 11. So if we end up losing a team, now we definitely don't have time for somebody else. So it is a weird position to have Riot in, especially after the entire guard situation. And it's a fucked up situation for everybody at EG, players included, who are right now still in contract jail with the rumors that their org is about to leave esports entirely.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I'm definitely concerned about. Riot's response to this, if it does happen, given what occurred with the whole guard situation and how much community pushback it took to actually move that in the proper and desired direction. And much like that situation where the players and staff were hung high and dry, you can certainly see that happening again. And already I know of some extremely talented, reputable staff, coaches that cannot find places on good teams because already we've gotten to a place in the offseason where things are pretty much locked down outside of where are a few of these EG players going. So at that point, it's also concern that people like Potter and, you know, some of the players won't have a spot on a team anywhere, even though they're really good. You know, that could change later in the year. Maybe they get picked up by someone, but I think that's a very real concern as well. What do you think, Minnie?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't realize it was the end of 2023, this thing. I thought it was the end of 2024. So I'm sat here thinking, yeah. Like, I can't even say anything, but maybe some conversations I had now make more sense.
Oh my god.
How many members to reveal the secrets, Minnie?
I don't have that many secrets, but yeah, no, I just feel really bad. Like even the play, like I just feel for the players like the most. Like I don't know what the protocol is from Riot's side. Like I know that they've got the orgs have got to sign contracts with Riot for entering partnership, right? So I'm hoping there's protection for players there on some level. But even still, like what's going to happen next year for like these players? Like I don't know. I just feel quite crappy that these very good players who just want to play, like I don't know what happens, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the players are in limbo, the coaches are in limbo, the staff at EG are in limbo. They've already had 3 rounds of layoffs or whatever, so it's a really shitty situation. But in terms of like Riot's response, I think they do have an agreement with EG, and this is what I was saying. It's like probably going to be harder for them to get out of something in Valorant than it is in LCS, because in LCS like they paid to enter. Well, they paid to buy. I think they bought their slot.
Yeah, you buy the slot.
I don't know exactly. Well, I mean from somebody else, not from Riot in this case. I don't remember what the situation was for them getting into franchising, but they were relatively new, I think, in LCS in the first place. So, but either way, like, you know, Riot could buy them out. Like, there's that way. If they want to leave, they didn't release the details, so you don't know exactly how the exit process was for EG. But for Valorant, right, there's not a slot that they're buying. They are, when they sign their TPA, their partnership agreement in Valorant, like they're committing to, you know, the 2 to 5 year length or whatever. And obviously there's going to be clauses to help you get out of that in cases like, you know, financial issues or whatever. But they're going to be on the hook for something for sure to Riot here. And I actually thinking back, like Riot is kind of lucky that they probably planned already how to work out the season with 10 teams. But they won't, because they had to do that for the guard situation when they announced. They're like, yeah, we're only going to go with 10 teams. So they at least have like a really deep cut backup plan. But I would hope that that doesn't come to that. And maybe they promote somebody else, or maybe they, you know, do the same process that they did for the guard players in terms of acquiring a roster, which who knows? Is there even a roster at this point for EG in 2024? Doesn't look like it.
At least next year, there's more opportunity for roster changes, right?
Yeah.
So at least I'll just think about that then. If you're a player, at least it's gonna be weird where like some of the teams that don't do so well, there's just a bunch of EG players just sat there, maybe. Like, so it's gonna be a really weird season if that happens, you know?
Yeah, I hate this like fucking venture capitalist bullshit where like you can see what they're doing right now with their players. Like all other orgs in like partnership, or at least a lot of the respected orgs would be like, okay, well, we know we're not gonna be able to do anything with these players. Like, let's release them from the contract so that they can fucking find teams, right? Like they can't do that right now, except for like going out of the way and, you know, leaning into potential poaching areas and gray areas, which just sucks for them. But you're talking about like 7 different players getting fucked by EG right now because they want to keep them and make some sort of money on them, which doesn't make sense when their contracts are ending anyways. This is dumb.
Yeah, I also I feel. Oh, sorry. Were you gonna say something, Chobra?
No, I mean, I was just gonna say. I mean, I think one thing everyone agrees on is the situation's super dumb. And obviously it sucks the most for, the players and everyone involved in the org. I also just wonder, like, I hope this doesn't create a monopoly effect, a domino effect, monopoly effect. What? Domino effect, where it just leaves a bad taste for like VCT overall, right? For future sponsors or orgs that might want to get involved of like, well, how do you work this out? And like, do you have backup plans? And are they even reliable and things like that? So I can only imagine also for anyone on Riot's side that this is probably the biggest headache they never asked for. And I don't think there's a good answer, quite frankly, right? I don't think there's any situation where anyone, like everyone on the outside smiles, but hopefully they can make one where at least players and not just players, but like also sponsors and other orgs can look at it and be like, okay, let's we can move on, right? We can have faith that this thing's going to work. So
I do think that like, they didn't ask for this. Like it's a problem that has been created because of one of their partners and not them. But at the end of the day, like there was a lot of missteps with Riot and EG. Like there was a lot of stuff going on with EG behind the scenes in CS and Dota 2 in League with one of their star players that they could have realized like is red flags all around for them to not introduce them into partnerships last year. With that said, like they were also doing some good stuff where, they were one of the only teams to push for a co-ed team with Potter way back when, which is a leap of faith for the Valorant scene in general. And they've been involved trying to make it the entire time. So like it's weird because you have orgs on the other hand that aren't, putting their best foot forward in Valorant that are trying to get in, and they're like, well, you guys haven't been doing shit, so like we're not going to take you even though you're an endemic esports org. It is a weird situation, but I don't think like Riot should be completely absolved of all blame for picking EG in the first place.
Sure. What also just an additional extreme frustration I feel on the side from this is the fact that in a theoretical world where EG were competent or EG were never in franchising and it was a different organization that had this exact same team, I obviously don't know to what extent is going on behind the scenes with players wanting to be on different teams, how much EG has influenced that, but the fact that the championship team just not being around for the next year feels it's like someone has a title reign and they have to drop the belt because they're injured, and then it's just like, oh, well, I guess it's like the next best guy has it. Like it just doesn't feel right. Like you want them to get usurped by someone and then EG can blow up, you know what I mean? Like give them, like let them go to Madrid and lose, and then like another team can feel like they're the best, it just doesn't feel right. And eventually, we'll get over that when Zeta win like 3 tournaments in a row, and then it's like, all right, we're the definitive best, it's fine, right guys? But until we get there, it just doesn't feel the same, it just doesn't feel
we didn't
right.
talk about this about Zeta, but they do have 7 coaches, so I mean like just to sidetrack a little bit, I don't know what 7 coaches actually end up doing. Like I don't like when we played them last year, apparently they had 5 coaches, and maybe this is quite mean, but it didn't feel like it was like they had the most 5 coach worth of okay, sorry, 6 coaches, but Carlisle does count as 2 coaches because that counts.
Listen,
that guy's twice my height,
If you count 7 coaches, then they have a coach for every player plus an assistant coach and a head coach. So like you're getting to player development that maybe you didn't need many, but
I thought you were gonna say they had a coach for every player on T1 and they could just merge and they didn't form a super team. But
All right.
Oh man.
Don't get me going on Zeta Division. I can't do this again. We're gonna move on to oh wait, I was about to segue into the wrong topic. The challenge. Well, I guess this is appropriate. We're talking about companies that are fucking up. So, Challengers Polaris tournament organizer is bankrupt, and what does this mean for the VRL? Now, I'm going to be totally real. I don't know anything about VRL. That system, I never at any point in my life decided to put the brain power forward to really diving in and understanding what is going on there. So I will intro the topic in this way, and I need someone whose mind contains the information I'm seeking to spill it out to me and the people? Who has it?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, you know that like the VRLs, especially the Northeast Europe one, which is the one we're talking about, Polaris, like has been struggling viewership wise.
I know that.
Struggling in terms of like
I wasn't
providing
watching.
broadcast days. Like it's been a rough scene for them in general when they have like talented players, right? This is where the Apex guys came from. Now that most of them are on Team Liquid and most of them are in franchising, but they went undefeated up into Ascension. It's where this league came from. So they are bankrupt. They've just laid off like every single employee pretty much, and they can't run the league next year. So that is the important thing, is we're literally down a league in probably one of the most talented regions of EMEA in general when it comes to the Challengers League. So this would be the equivalent of Knights going under, right? And not being able to run North American Challengers next year. It's the exact same, like if that happened, it'd be the exact same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. One thing I want to point out is, first of all, for anyone who still hasn't caught on to how esports works, most people don't actually make money, which is, I know, shocking to everyone, but it's crazy.
I know.
But
We know here at Plat Chat.
But on the other hand, as far as I know, what I've noticed is basically the challenger scene, right, and therefore the VRL scene, were pretty much kind of given this weird autonomy, so to speak, right? Where they basically had to, it was as if they were running like a third-party tournament, but it tied into VCT. And at that point, I do wonder if it has to do with the region, because then making money and doing business gets really weird, because you can't just easily get global sponsorship, even if your viewership is global. And I'm not trying to give anyone like an out. For instance, Korea has this problem where they're always like, well, the English stream is huge. And, you know, all of us who work here are like, well, you should just get like more sponsors for the English stream. And they're like, well, we can't, because we're a Korean company and like we have to talk to the Korean offices and they don't want to give us money for an English stream because that's not their regional office. I had to deal with this a lot back at OGN, and I assume I can talk about this because they're gone. But so basically, now there are ways to do it, obviously, but it's just this thing where either they're not used to or the company's not big enough, and having these divided up leagues that are just region centric, run by a regional office for a regional audience. At that point, even if your players are great and your viewership is great globally, they're not experienced enough, or they don't actually have the backing and set up like legally or whatnot to go for a global funding, which, you know, a lot of fans think that would solve the problem. I mean, I don't know if it would be enough money, but I think that's one thing where a lot of people look at news like this, not just this one, but in general, and people just say, wow, that's like shocking. How do they not make money? They have some of the best players. Like, we're all watching the league. And it's like, well, I mean, you watching it with ad block on is not really helping anybody, right? And they're not in a position where they're selling it very well. So I do wonder if they maybe reconsider that with all the regional division in EMEA.
I mean, there's already just too many leagues. So yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, there's a lot.
To be quite frank, it's not. I think I've never realized that before. That's interesting, but nobody watched Polaris. Like, nobody watched it. No one gave a crap.
Sure,
the way that VRL works in Europe is people watch the Spanish leagues, the French leagues, and the Turkish leagues, because those are the regions where the community from those countries actually cares about the league. Polaris, like, no one in England watches like esports. No one cares.
Like, I mean, what it's the UK, like what?
It's like Scandinavia, UK,
and that's it. So like
Scandinavia, they care about Counter-Strike, they don't care about Valorant, and then the UK doesn't give a crap about PC in general. So it's just there's no viewers. So it's a weird scene in general where it's like we have like the way that I explain it is like tier 2 in NA has like 10 teams, and tier 2 in Europe has like 50 teams. It's like the weirdest like system.
Yeah, and the Valorant general audience, which you would assume would be watching something like this too, is way too fractured, right? Like most of them are going to their regional specific one because they have their regional fandom, or they're also just watching the tier 1 leagues. So like it's way too much overlap and way too much Valorant. Like it's a cool idea to try to have like all these regional leagues, because then you get that regional representation and teams that are fun, like made, you can have a full Swedish roster, you can have a full Danish roster, stuff like that, which is very fun especially when they rise up to be the top of the top. That's how a lot of esports started in general, just because of the localization back then. But now it's global, so you kind of have to adapt the situation to you to fit that. And I think what the article does say, I don't know if it's what the article says or what people were speculating about on Twitter, but the Riot has responded and said, okay, we're looking for solutions to find somebody to run the Polaris League, or like it's possible that they merge with DAC, the German league. And that would be like, especially thinking about what you just talked about, Chobra, like that would be very weird because DAC only has a German speaking stream, right? They don't have an English stream. So like, what the hell would go on there? It's very, very weird if that would happen. And I think DAC in general has not had the same success that like the Spanish league has, and the French league has, and the Turkish league, like you mentioned, even though the German speaking region, like for content and esports, is generally pretty big as well.
Yeah,
I gotta imagine when they first started this system, it's because they, I don't have the numbers, but they found it working in League of Legends, where they divided up Europe into all the separate countries, and then NA was just on its own. But if I'm not mistaken, Riot also plays a much bigger role in that scene, in the basically tier 2 scene in League of Legends across all the regions. So I assume that's another part where it's like, obviously the way Riot's going to run its esports business is very different than a TO would, right? Where you have to get your money and how you make money. So, hopefully, I mean, if they do merge with DAC, I mean, maybe that's the start of like, okay, we should consolidate. This isn't working. What is
the content that they're pushing on this? What is for the audio listeners at home? There's just the Valorant Polaris channel is just posting Walter White short memes. They're doing whatever it takes to blow this thing up.
Short.
I mean, yeah, that is by far their most viewed short. Oh wait, actually, the best 1v5 clutch in Valorant has a few more views than Walter White Cypher Cam video.
This isn't that good.
And it's not the best Valorant clutch ever 1v5.
No, I don't think it is. No,
that's too bad.
It was pretty hyped though.
I mean, yeah, I can see
we have to watch it now.
But yeah, there really are. I mean, I do like the idea of combining some of the leagues and getting the viewership up in that way, because compared to the other regions, man, like for the previous reasons illustrated as to the regional dedication in Spain, Turkey, etc., that just doesn't exist in the countries in Polaris. But also, I mean, unfortunately, just there's not as much of a culture of co-streaming or any real content being created around that scene either, compared to NA.
Polaris was like the one region where people were co-streaming.
Yeah,
but there's no
obviously
one,
the French leagues.
But point being, there's no one that's taking the viewership like there is in NA, and there isn't that fan regional dedication, and the players in that scene just don't really have the players nor the orgs have content or star power to pull any viewership really of their own merit. Like, you are getting the hardcore nerd viewers and like some of the people that are going to go back and review the VODs, but there's just no real casual incentive like still exists in some of the other regions to support your region or to support the people in like Challengers NA that are more popular players, streamers that have some cachet in that regard.
We we're talking a lot about how they have the, what the fuck am I trying to say? They have all the tools to be able to like go out and find sponsors and make this profitable for them as well. But like at the end of the day, Riot like is paying these TOs probably just not enough to like run these leagues in an effective way as well. Like you're talking 10 leagues. They put out requests for proposals for all these leagues and TOs to like sign up for it, and everybody's bidding the minimum possible amount so that they could get the gig in the first place. Like, it wasn't a good process, I would say, to find these TOs in the first place, to find reputable ones. And that the problem is that there's just also not enough, like, there's not enough big TOs that are looking to get this product, and there's never going to be enough good TOs looking for this product because of stuff like this, right? When you have a big bankruptcy like this tells everybody else who is aspiring to be a TO in the region, like any gaming company, any little LAN cafe, anything like that, which a lot of these TOs are, by the way, they start from that and it's a spin-off of their business. You can't when stuff like this happens. And Riot is fully responsible to try to make this a healthy place for them to actually get good requests for proposals. And also, you know, not just take the people who are bidding bottom dollar just because they're cheap.
Yeah, if Connor Prince were here, he would also mention the point of the struggle of getting sponsorships in Europe when you have multiple countries involved and sponsors from certain countries that are serving a product that is specifically to that country's demographic, not being interested in that overlap as it benefits their company in no way being advertised to different countries, and that always being a financial struggle with European esports orgs in general. And then when you compound with all the other issues, you know, you're trying to bring some kind of sponsor to be interested in Polaris when you have all these different regions and the viewership struggling. It's just very tough, but hopefully some of that can get combined. What was that?
We're effed. Esports winter is just everybody's dead.
Yeah,
except for Plat.
Except for us.
Except for Plat.
We know how to survive off. We can survive off the scraps. We've been doing it for years. We made it to the top off the scraps. All right, let's talk about far more important news. Will Zellsis take pANcada's spot on the Sentinels roster? Finally, something real that we can dig into. I've been waiting for a meaningful topic. So, pANcada posted on X this week. What is all this aim for if I can't play? Fellas, what does this mean for the Sentinels?
He's disgruntled. It's over. He's disgruntled, and now they're going to be fighting on the bench like it's the fucking NBA. I can't wait. This is amazing.
I mean, yeah, they really...
real sports now.
Have the Sentinels... have they hit themselves with the Clippers idea this season? They have 4 players that all metaphorically need the ball on this roster to perform. Because I'm drawing a parallel. Ball. Do you see where I'm taking this?
Yes, absolutely. That's what it is. Tens needs the ball. Zekin needs the ball. Sasha needs the ball. Fucking the only person who doesn't need the ball is John QT, and he's just calling. So you know that's it. Zellsis needs the ball. They all need it. And they can't get it. It's a team game. And 6-man rosters just don't work. They just don't work.
No,
How many times have we seen this?
I know.
Like, and this is why. This is the only time we get to see it in the public eye. This is why. Motherfuckers want to play, bro.
Wait, is this supposed to be a 6-man roster?
No, but it is. I mean,
Well, yeah, like that's the weird part, right? It never made it. They never made it sound like it was intended to be a 6-man roster, and then just somehow it became one.
Dude, I will tell you, Zellsis always intended this to be a 6-man roster. Go back to this fucking video where motherfucker's like, I'm back, and he's like showing off his ass, like he's like, I'm playing. He was like, I'm gonna play at some point. Like I'm playing. He poisoned everybody, man. Like what can we do? That Sentinel's just fucked again. I feel bad, but
they've done this to them. I mean, to some extent. Okay. Well, they kind of did this to themselves. Wait. He has a video called I'm coming for pANcada's starting spot 6 days ago.
Yeah, but I'm not even looking at that one. Look at the one on the left with FNS. Like this
10 minutes
content.
of
Like,
FNS being obsessed with me. He's posting some crazy content. And when was this pANcada one posted? That was only 5 days ago. Curious. That video went up a day before the pANcada tweet. Interesting. I mean, Sentinels. Who is the James Harden of Sentinels? We'll get to that next. But that's my next question. But my first question is: did they not see? This was an inevitable future when they signed one of the best free agents in the offseason to be a 6th man, and then they start rotating in. Because they have players somehow. Sentinels need to work on. I mean, I guess they're trying to work on their load management because their team is injury prone. Someone is always going down on their roster, so they kind of do need a sub. But you're subbing in a guy that's like he's clearly one of the best free agents. So there's just going to be a reality where are we just going back to last year? Is it last year's bullshit again?
I mean, yeah, for now, that's what it looks like. Whether you like it or hate it, I mean, even if they claim that that's not it, you've set down the groundwork for the exact same patterns to happen, right? Okay, something happens, we sub them in, it's working out, so we want to try to keep it. It's just the off season, whatever. But then you switch back and things don't work out. And it's like, well, what do? Then you probably go back to what worked, and now you're in this mess of like, we don't even know who the starting 5 are. So, and this goes back to Bala's point of like, this is why intended 6-man rosters don't work. But I don't know if they like, I don't even know if they have an out. The only out they have is if the entire Sentinels team and staff were in on this joke from the beginning, and they like helped create that video on Zellsis' YouTube, and pANcada actually edited it himself, and then he reveals on the AVL on stage that he's staying on the starting 5. Like, that's the only way this works out.
I mean,
it's just a ploy from Armor too, just make it more like sports, right? Like, yeah, that's the only way to make it profitable, is just make esports more like sports. So he's just fucking like, he's pitting them against each other. When Zellsis comes on the couch, he's like, yo, you gotta go for that spot, bro. I believe in you. Like, I don't care what Kaplan says. Like, we're gonna get you on the team. This, yeah, you know, he's whispering like he's fucking Game of Thronesing it. Like,
dude, also, to throw into the mix, there's the Africa TV tournament that's in a few weeks. I think it starts on December 5th. The Sentinels, they have been invited. They're trying to play everything in the offseason. They're keeping those numbers up. They're keeping the engagement up. That's what they do best. And it's been reported that they are practicing with Zellsis. pANcada will not be attending. Does this just give... Do you guys... How much do you believe this is reality versus this is engagement farming?
This is somebody who's looking at scrims and engagement farming. Absolutely.
Okay,
this is the same guy who said Demon 1 has signed an extension with EG. Like, this is the same guy who said that stuff. Like, I don't believe a word this guy says, not gonna lie. But he probably does have them on their friends list, so that's cool. I love it. I love Valorant esports rumors.
Yeah, journalism is, always ever professional in this scene. It is always in tip-top shape. I mean, I guess then maybe the final question with this.
Bro, sorry, Wyatt. Bro, they don't even need 6 people on their team this year. The rules don't even require it. Like, what is going on? No.
Oh, yeah, they're not required.
I mean, which is thing, like him subbing from pANcada is strange. I thought it'd be more like if Tens had a disaster start than Zellsis could, because he's on flex now. That would make more sense. So I don't know what's going on. Like, I know they don't need the 6-man, but like, if Tens really didn't gel with that flex role that they seem to be trying him on, then it makes sense that Zellsis is there. Otherwise, I don't really understand. There's like obviously more to this that we probably just don't know.
I mean,
like
100% there is.
I don't understand.
Yeah. I just like yelling, to be honest. I just like yelling.
No. I think the yelling is like needed, but like it's just that one of those annoying, like, they can't be transparent for some reason. And then is pANcada's tweet a real tweet or not? Because that's a bit of a weird tweet, like, to make, Like, even
bait
if
or not,
true,
it's weird. 100%, I agree.
Yeah.
Unless he was instructed to post it, which, listen.
Yeah.
I could believe it. I could believe someone whispered in his ear to post something like this.
Dude, it's so crazy because, like, even if that was the case, bro, you know what you're doing with the Sentinels fan base? You're fucking, they're a hornet's nest, and you're just poking that shit, and you're like, yeah, you like talking shit about our players? You guys like death threats? That's what they're doing with their fan base when they enrage them like this, because now fucking whenever Zellsis plays, all the Brazilian fans are gonna be like going at him, and whenever pANcada plays, everybody else who wants the glory days of Sentinels is gonna be going at pANcada. It's just like I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing.
Oh, at the very least, they are just... honestly, I could see this all being orchestrated because they checked the numbers, they saw what was going on this past year, having 8 players on their roster, discussion every week, Def out, Marved in, Tens out, fucking, I don't know, BCJ in, whoever they had on that team. They were just every week discussion about who they should pick up, who needs to be subbed, who needs to be benched, whatever was going on every single week, and the roster was changing. And they've really just set it up to be that again. Even if they keep the same 5, they're going to lose a game. And then, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just every other week, it's going to be someone out, someone in discussion. And I can't wait to have it.
Are you telling me they're farming me for content and impressions?
Yes.
We're all just part of the system.
Yeah, we really are. Right now we're being manipulated by the media. Like in this very moment, we are being manipulated by the media.
I thought we were the media, man. What's going on? God damn it.
We're somewhere down there in the pyramid. We're in the pANcada needs to get his numbers up on IG. He's struggling. All right, I can see why he posted this. He's only got 160 followers. He's got to get that up. I can see why his engagement fading. All right, let's keep it moving to the last piece of roster news, which we're waiting on this one for a long time, but Talon have announced their complete roster with 3 additions, being lenne, and Governor, I forget how you pronounce that. All good. Chobra, React.
Again, I mean, I hate that this is all we're talking about today, no matter what topic we go to, but it's like, so who's on the bench? I mean, is Lenny happy to sit on the bench and warm it up for another full year for a team that might not make it to an international tournament? Because I have no idea. I was racking my brain today to figure out, like, how does this work? Because, okay, so they revealed in their reveal video, they obviously reveal Lenny, ban Governor, and then they have Cruz there, and they like give him like a tarot card or whatever as well, that he's going to be the one who has to lead the team. Okay, that makes sense. So then you have 4, and then supposedly it's between pANcada and Jit Boys, and common sense would tell us that pANcada would be the one sitting on the bench just because of his like wrist and everything. I think it'd be an absolute waste to put someone like Jit Boys on the bench. But at the same time, like, I don't know, is pANcada happy to sit on the bench? Because last year he wasn't, right? Even though he had the chance to just kind of be a figurehead. So I have no idea. There have been rumors that Jit Boys is a 6, but then he was also like part of the video for them that they released, you know, having their fans cheer them on for ESL Clash of Nations. So I wonder if they just don't know. Overall, though, I have no idea what to expect. I mean, I don't think it can be any worse than their actual results last year, but I am also in that party where I thought their roster looked like it had a lot of potential in 2023. And I think we saw moments of that, especially towards the end of the season. And then they took it away during LCQ and they started to run it down again. But aside from that, like, I don't know if it's an upgrade, because I thought on paper their existing roster was pretty good with Garnets and Fox and Sushi Boys. So, yeah, I don't know. I also think this team also has lots of role issues. I mean, I guess maybe Ban goes back to playing Smokes, but I think he absolutely always looked better on Jet. So then I don't know.
Governor, who is a Jet, like,
yeah, exactly, right. So then, like, somebody has to yield here. So maybe one of them's on the bench.
Rounds on Jet is insane. I love that. That's awesome.
Wow.
Also Silva, but he was playing. He was playing Duelist for Turtle Troop. So,
and that's what happens when you play every Nerd Street weekly for 3 years. That's how you end up with 4,000 rounds played. Yeah, that was.
I mean,
oh, go on.
Yeah, I just don't think this moves them any higher on anybody's rankings, and it's not against any one of these players that have been signed. It's just none of us can. I mean, unless one of you guys can. Like, I cannot picture what that team looks like with these 3 additions. And at that point, it's like, well, all we can do is wait and see. But I would not rate them any higher than they were before.
Yeah, I think the one factor that like I look at and it helps me, I don't know, form a picture is Boy is the coach of this team now, right? So like he has some impact on who he's signing and who he's bringing over. Obviously, like Governor is an NA player, right? He's coming in as an import. I would assume that, you know, Ban and Governor like signing together here, and Boy had a part in that, but they are going international, and yeah, you're right. I mean, it wipes them off of the ranking list from me, like from an actual place, and puts them in a more of a range, right? And I think that based on their performance last year, like I still really like Cruz in IGL. I really like him as a player. I think he was super flexible this year and like being able to swap from his prior role of initiator to playing mostly full-time smokes. Their 6-man roster was full troll last year. We just talked about this. Like, so I hope that they just solidify something, and we'll see what the ceiling is with Boy, how he is as a coach, because he's had some experience back on 100 Thieves when he signed after the deal thing, way back when, but that was like assistant coach type thing, and he hasn't really been active since then. So
yeah, I will also say that, so they seem to be going the T1 route of they want to always future-proof themselves for a global roster, right? And they can just unify their comms in English with the addition of band governor and even Lenny, I would say. So at that point, then my gut tells me that Jitboys probably is on the bench, at least for now, because I assume he is the least comfortable with English. That whole team used to always rely on Cruz to translate for them no matter what, and Patty Fenn was the only one who was like kind of sometimes okay with doing English just for fun. But yeah, with that in mind, then I'm like, okay, well, if they're calming in English, unless Jitboys has been really grinding that Duolingo, I can't imagine that he's going to be the one calming safely, especially if he's playing Sentinel. So that's another thing to think about. But I think it's fair. I've seen a lot of APAC fans be kind of upset about this because even at Ascension, like a lot of people told us, like, man, you know, countries like the Philippines, Thailand, like there's a lot of raw talent. They just need to be brought up. And because you're kind of pressured to make results as soon as possible as a partner team, if you're already future-proofing yourself for a global roster, that just diminishes the chances for teams to, you know, or players rather, to have a chance to at least shine and like learn under some veterans within your own country. But I mean, I guess especially for like even EMEA, and then I guess even for Pacific, I guess at the end of the day, most teams will eventually switch to calming in either English or one unified language. So I guess you can't stop it, but I get it for fans, especially if you're from Thailand and you're like, man, I mean, we also, like, even at Ascension, it was like we could only really cheer for Scary because he was the only one left and he's on bleed. And now it's like there's even less Thai players now in Pacific. That does kind of suck.
Yep. I mean, same thing that happens, and yeah, it's gonna happen in Valorant. I feel like we don't have the same level of support for regional leagues. I think it's like slightly better, but like when we were talking about the VRL thing, like it's the exact same situation happening in every single one of the APAC regions too, right? Like they have 11. I think they have more leagues, challenger leagues. I mean, they're also more spread out geographically, so it's different. But I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I have.
This is like the fourth team that's going into an international roster as well in Pacific, right? Like global. Yeah. I mean, they did it last year. T1 now. Like this team, it's crazy.
Supposedly DFM, but we have no idea. We'll wait to find out.
That's the roster reveal we're all really waiting for. I have 2 points. One, this popped back into my mind. I recant believing in T1. Their roster might have some potential, but I hate that they have 7 players. Why are they doing this 7-man roster? I hate that so much. And it just clicked in my brain. Like, I hate that. Okay, but second point, when we were talking about, the reason I thought of that, because when we were talking about Talon with the way too early tier list last week, a point that I think Sliggy brought up that I also agreed with, and I think was kind of the common sentiment that we agreed with, was that we did really like the roster last year. We did not like the approach to the roster where their roles were insanity. They were playing way too many agents, way too much on the shoulders of individuals. Patty Penn played every agent in the game. It was just, they were doing too much, and because of that, they squandered the talent that they had. Do you guys also kind of, are you rolling with that too for this previous roster?
100%. I think they absolutely shot all of themselves in the foot by having everyone switch roles all the time and also switch their starting 5 literally every week, right? I mean, not only are you not scrimming properly for that time, but also, I mean, as a player, you're like, well, am I playing this week or not? Like, I don't know. I guess we'll wait to find out. And then, yeah, like you said, I mean, Patty Fan miraculously he actually looked the best, like by the end, by having finally gone around the world of Valorant agents and landing on Omen, and he was like, oh yeah, this is that one agent I've been looking for my entire career. But other than that, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think the individual power was clearly proven. I think even there were moments of good teamwork, but they were just experimenting like way too much.
I mean, they even like Garnett's was somebody who came out of nowhere, I think, for a lot of people at Brazil, right? And looked fantastic. And I think people were really excited. And all of a sudden, like they just started DRXing him, right? Like he just started not playing anymore. And it's like, what the heck are you doing with this young guy who needs the experience, who needs the leadership, who needs to learn? Just gone on the bench. You sit there, even though you're good.
Yeah. Also, yeah, Trevor, you mentioned the Clash of Nations because that's in just a couple days. That starts on the 24th, and they're playing against Full Sense first, who have Sushi Boys and Fox, which is pretty entertaining. I'm down for that because also, I'm gonna.
That's amazing.
I'm gonna admit, I always really rated Fox and Sushi Boys, and also just because Sushi Boys is so iconic to this show from the Go stream, I hate to see him gone. But I think I really do think both of those players were great. I mean, I had no problems with what they had. I would have loved to maybe live in a world where we could have just seen a shift in the coaching staff and the overall approach, because that roster had some gas. I mean, this one, you know, they could still work something out, but yeah, we're back in weird role land. I hate how T1 used Ban last year. I was excited to see him in that team, and I really dislike how they used him. I think he still does have potential, but man, shout out to T1 for that, for putting his career on hold. Jesus Christ. But all right. Any final points y'all have on Talon before we move on to the Game Changers pick'ems?
I guess the only underrated thing is that even you say something about the coach that maybe they could have done something better, is that Zeus is actually one of the most experienced coaches in the game. So like I wonder where he goes. Like I went to so many events where you know, didn't have long conversations with him, but like, you know, someone who I saw constantly through the past 3 years. Like so I'm sure he can just go somewhere and it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I hold concerns for good coaches, staff, good analysts, because budgets are tight, and it's, yeah, I said it earlier, but I know a lot of people are struggling to get either paid what they deserve or to get paid at all, because there's just not a lot of spots. Everyone is trimming down. It is a tough time to be in those positions in the scene right now, for sure. All right, let's get on to the meat and potatoes of the pod. It is the Game Changers Champions Pick'em, as the Game Changers Championship in Sao Paulo is coming up just this very next week. So we are going to accurately predict every single game in the bracket. You can still watch, of course, and enjoy it, but you're just going to know what's going to happen. And I'm just double checking. But yeah, that begins on November 28th. All right, let's get into it. Upper quarterfinals. So for the audio listeners at home, this is an 8-team bracket. If you are not familiar, teams from around the globe. First match at the very top of the bracket is Evil Geniuses versus Team SMG, representing APAC. Now, where do we begin? Well, let's start with EG, just on account of they are the team with a roster change heading into this event. EG no longer with their previous duelists ousted for very good reasons. They are gone and replaced by Nora, who was previously playing on Supernova Galaxy. More on that like upcoming kind of player tier, playing on some of the like unsigned teams for a while, that kind of thing, rising up the ranks. But I think one of the potential things of issue that we're looking at, which I feel like we're just talking about all day on this show, is problems with roles here, because I'm going to assume that with EG now they're going to bring Lori back to Duelist, because there's some initiator role overlap. Lori was playing Duelist for Shopify Rebellion previously at times, but the concern I just thought Lori was so good on Initiator during their run in this last Game Changers that the role swaps, I have concerns. Do you guys share similar concerns? Where are you at?
I would keep Lori. I mean, just try to keep everything as similar as possible to the run that they had, right? Like, so leave all the structure in place. Lori is so instrumental in that, being the initiator, that like you need everybody to know what's going on. And I think Lori staying as the initiator would leave it, just have Nora come in and play the Keency roles. I think would be the best course of action if that's possible, right? If Nora's comfortable with that. I have no clue. I haven't watched a Nora game or anything like that, but I think that's possible. And probably the best approach if I was EG. And I think a lot of the same approaches that a lot of teams do when they face with situations like this.
I'd say I think my take's slightly different. I think that Keency is like possibly the best GC player we've seen. Like fluorescent levels of good. Like if you look at the stats, it's like Durka in his prime, they're better than, like, comparatively to Ye in his prime, like compared to the scene he's playing in, it's better than Ye in his prime. Like this is like, how do you replace this level? Like, and I think the idea of like bringing in, like, because they couldn't substitute a player from the top 8 teams, they have to substitute below, and to get someone to replace their carry, like their hard carry, like I don't know what you're supposed to do. So I think that Lori going to Judas makes some sense, because otherwise you're going to be I'd imagine a lot of their game is revolving around Keency just absolutely diffing people. So like you're not going to find that from a sub top 8 team, I don't think. And Lori's probably going to struggle to do what Keency's doing, but at least they can kind of try, I guess. They're really screwed. Like it puts a massive asterisk on this tournament that, like, I think top 2 potential team going is like without one of the best players in the world. So it's kind of unfortunate, really. Like
it's also weird. I find it very weird the ruling that Wyatt made that they couldn't get to like the top 8 team, like anybody who qualified to the main event, and they couldn't go like international or anything too, because I think we've seen other situations where emergency situations like this have netted like a really good sub. Like the one that comes to mind for me is like TenZ right away. I mean, obviously I'm not familiar with like exactly where like they were placing, but they were all playing in the open qualifiers back then, right? Back in Masters 1, whatever.
What was the TenZ one? I can't remember.
TenZ like coming off of Cloud9, getting emergency sub for Sinatra back then.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
I mean, and then you could think about even more recent ones, right? That's just the first one that comes to mind. But like, Heretics, right? Zeke recently, like, they got an emergency sub situation from, well, I guess who subbed for them, like Gen.G. So it wasn't even like, it's not like they got somebody who was in the top 8 or anything like that. But I seem to remember like maybe 2 or 3. I can't think of them right now, but many where there were players who subbed that were on teams that were very good that just didn't make it to the event. But either way, that's the situation that they're facing. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Minnie. It sucks, but I don't know. For some reason, I have this thing right now. Wyatt, you probably can reminisce with me about this, but like any team that has a sub, like you start to rank them lower, and then all of a sudden they just like overperform somehow. Like always, every single time it feels like that. Like Navi back in the day. Like, I mean, obviously that team was super stacked, but like I feel like there's just always this thing with teams that have subs. Version 1 back at Reykjavik, like.
I feel like the composition of this team is like, unlike some of the other teams, I think Keency's like, it's a bit like when we started out with Durka. Like if Durka didn't show up, like it was over for us, and it feels a bit like that too.
I mean, we didn't even get a chance to see that though, because we had Durka and somebody else.
I mean, I wonder if it's as close as it gets.
Yeah.
I wonder if the closest we had was probably the old FPX, right? When Sugesu couldn't be there and Cider came in. But I mean, that team was also like.
I mean, no, but there's also like Paper X with, their content creator coming in too. Like,
actually, that's true.
There's a bunch of examples of teams that just like you're like, yeah, they're gonna suck. Yeah. They have a sub, like, and then they fucking pop off. Like, there's so many examples. With that said, like, yeah, I still agree with Minnie. Like, Keency was insane for this team. It is equivalent to Durka not showing up for Fnatic to an event. Like, with that said, though, I still think that EG wins this game against SMG. I think that
really,
yeah, I do. I really, really like the way they were playing. I love the way that they were getting coached. Love the anting going on. Like this team, like overperformed everywhere. Not just Keency, but everybody overperformed back then.
Yes. Okay, so I don't want to just listen. I'm going to give some positives to EG. I don't want to just detract only. But some of my other concerns going into this, regardless of what the roster was, during that run in GC3, that felt very honeymoon phase. The roster just came together. It had been a couple weeks. They lose the first game in the playoff bracket, go down to the lower bracket, win every game in a row, and win the tournament. It was just, everything was clicking. Everything was perfect. Now, that can carry over, absolutely. But is that, potential red flag? Maybe. Also, Balla, I know you hate this narrative, and I hate this narrative, but I'm going to put it out there. It's they're new to LAN. The players haven't played. Yeah, see, I hate this narrative. But come on, Balla, someone had to bring up the narrative.
No, I mean, it's going to come up a lot. Like, we're going to talk about it for floor. We're going to talk about it
be on the
for all
desk.
This shit.
Yeah,
like,
they're talking. The desk is talking about it. Mimi's got that in the notes. They're talking about it. That's happening. But that being said, I mean, the new players that they have that are going to be performing here for the first time, like, I definitely rate PowerPixel as a really great initiator player. The setup for their previous duelist was always really good. I rate Starbound really highly, but I have some other those outside concerns, which personally, I honestly don't weigh them up that much, but I'm throwing them out there for the sake of discussion. I'm throwing them out there for the sake of discussion.
I didn't realize that Jovi was coaching them, but like when I VOD reviewed them, like after the pistol round, I checked to see who the coach was because I was like, okay, they've anti-stratted like straight away, you could tell, and like it was genuinely like, okay, pretty good. But my main concern is they don't have the best player in the world. Like, you know what I mean? That's just, I think that's a reasonable concern to have. So I think RRQ, like I don't know too much about them compared to EG, but like they looked really good. They've not lost any games and stuff, so I would edge them over EG. If EG had Keency, I'd put EG for sure, but the other way around, I think that I would lean the other way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think if EG had their best player or potentially the best player at the tournament on top of their stranding anti-stranding, then sure, I think it's totally valid despite the record that SMG has. But I obviously, again, it's like cross region, so I mean, who knows what it really means. But SMG was just like stomping through, and this is this roster from SMG is like after basically 2 years, or I guess a year and a half, of a lot of these players playing on different top teams in APAC, and then finally coming together, right? So they finally figured out, okay, this is the combo. These are the strongest players that we can have in APAC, and then they figure it out. And I think that if it's going to be, again, like maybe you haven't quite figured out how you want to work, with your new fifth and things like that, then SMG just by pure like fundamentals and mechanics could overpower no matter what the strats are. I also want to give a shout out to Kohaibi because she plays at like the highest sense I've ever seen outside of myself. I think she plays at around like 3400 EDPI. So that's also crazy.
I was very.
Could you translate that back to like me being a boomer?
So
tell me in inches per 360. That's the only way I know how to measure sense, which I think is so boomer.
How much?
I don't think anyone does that anymore.
She might have switched it back now, but I did get confirmation that she still plays at really high sense. So she plays at 1600 DPI on her mouse at like 2 point something in the game, and I play at 1600.
This is 3.8 CM360. Like, that's
crazy. That's faster than I use in like TF2 playing Soldier.
That's crazy fast.
That's crazy. Wow. That is nuts.
If you watch her like streams and stuff, though, I mean, you believe
it.
She
doesn't move her mouse. She doesn't move her mouse.
Yeah. I mean, it's just sits there. And I play at really high sense too, but this is like double what I play at as well.
It's over. It's over. Like the team submachine gun, they're losing. Like you can't have your player go up with 3,400 DPI. Like
Kohaibi
on LAN, you can't do that.
I'm gonna be honest. I was blown away watching the games. I thought she was absolutely fantastic, and at least according to VLR, she's the IGL, right? Is that correct? Certified? Because that's what VLR had listed.
It's Wyatt Plat certified now.
If that's also the case, I'm doubly as blown away, because I thought that SMG's calling, especially on the attack side, was really good. Their reactions to whatever the defensive side was doing, wherever they were taking map control, I thought were perfect time and time again. They worked the map better than a lot of the other teams that I'm seeing in this tournament on attack. Now, will that translate to wins when they're going up against other teams that also have incredibly skilled players that might be able to diff some of them at times? Maybe that's where it'll fall short, but this is one of the teams I'm rating really high in this tournament. Maybe too high, but I was really impressed with what I was seeing from the calling and from the team decision-making and their reactions to what the other team was doing. That was impressing me. And if Kohabi is putting up these numbers, being that proactive off of her own calls at times, because I felt like when I was watching it, if she is 100% the IGL, like it seemed like at times she would make a call and also be the one that was kind of the driving force in that moment, and people would be following her up, even though she was like pushing the first one in on like KJ or whatever on at certain points. I'm really rating this team. I don't know if anyone else is on the same boat here, but I rate them very highly. Pick. What was that?
No, yeah, I rate them highly. I agree that I would rate them high enough that they might be overhyped, but I think they deserve it. Right? I think they absolutely deserve it. I mean, at this point, for a team like this, their numbers are going to seem inflated because they absolutely dominated their region. But you just mentioned like Kohabi, her stats are crazy. I think Shirazi like basically never dies first as the smokes player, like ever. I think she has like a 0.01 first death per round or something. So she's basically never getting caught. So they always have their smokes available to continue to work the map. I agree that they work systematically, right? So it's not that they were just like running amok and paper rexing their opponents like all the time just by individual firepower. But it's actually pretty systematic, like the way they play. Like you said, their calls are very good. It seems thought out. Again, I would agree, just because of the points you guys mentioned with EG, if EG's anti-stranding is really going to be that good, this might be the match where like SMG's just never faced a team that anti-stranded them hard, so maybe that throws them off a little bit. But I gotta imagine that the reps they have and the mechanics they have are good enough to bounce back in like the next map or something like that.
I mean, from what I watched, I wasn't as impressed as you guys. Maybe I didn't watch the right maps, but this is also one of the teams I watched the least. With that being said, last year's APAC representative like impressed the shit out of me, despite like me watching the VODs and thinking like, oh, they're not that good. They impressed the crap out of me. What was that, X10 Sapphire back then with like Ginny and stuff like that? Like they played incredibly well. So I wouldn't be surprised, like when you're trying to rank like in between regions when we only have one international event a year, like that's the sort of thing I look at to see like how strong is a region, is their previous international performances, despite not being the same team, not having anybody from that team. So yeah, I mean, if you guys tell me it's a possibility, I still am going to be rating EG at this tournament. So I'm gonna put them above them, but like I totally believe this team could take it too.
Yeah, because what has me excited is that it's one thing to watch a team in their region just be the best because they have the best players and they just bang everybody out and are way more skilled. But to me, that was a total afterthought watching this team, and that's like, I feel like that's a trap we fell into when we got really excited about Crew last year before they were going into champions.
Crew was the truth. Crew was the truth.
Yeah, we'll see this year, But
there's a couple blunders away from making it, man. A couple blunders. There's one Rolling Thunder. If they just used it, man, they'd been winning the game. We wouldn't have been talking about X10 Sapphire. Nah, we'd be fucking moving forward here with Crew.
That was a historic Plat chat miss. Like that was just that was a rough one. Minnie, what are you feeling for this matchup though?
Yeah, I think overall, like I'll be honest, SMG is one of the teams I watch the least, but as everyone said, like their win rate and stuff is just incredible. So I'm just less hyped on EG's. I think everything about EG, the way they approach a game, is really good, but without Kinsey, I just don't see it. It's basically my TLDR. Got you.
I'm rolling SMG for sure.
3-1.
All right.
Yeah, I'm with SMG.
We'll come back to this.
Just
we'll come back to this. Well, y'all, I'm putting y'all on notice, okay?
I will also add probably one of the bigger weaknesses that some of these teams can have is their map pool, specifically Sunset. And it's not much, but at least SMG did play Sunset. So they were already playing, in a tournament where Sunset was available, and they did play it once. So it's not like they're completely out of the loop.
So who was
that
not playing
realm
Sunset?
either.
It was EMEA and Brazil,
No,
right?
wait. But like, I think what happened was like this is something I want to talk about was that like to qualify to champions, NA was playing Sunset and Breeze, but I don't think any other region was playing it. So I'll be honest, it's a
Asia
sham. It's a
played it.
sham.
Yeah.
Oh, East Asia.
The China
Yeah.
qualifier, Korea and Japan and stuff. They played it.
But they were a
we
bit
were the
later
latest
though,
too.
right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. But I think NA being able to play it is like this is true. Like
That's
I
true.
think this is true. Like I feel like NA, like this is a huge asterisk on the tournament to me, like in terms of competitive integrity. Like an entire region's able to play two
APAC
maps
played
in the
Sunset
pool?
too in their tournament. I didn't watch any, but they played it.
Really?
Yeah, there was 5 maps of Sunset.
Okay, so EMEA just gets screwed.
I think it's the EMEA and
Brazil?
Brazil maybe. Let me check
Yeah.
Brazil.
Yeah, and then
Just
East
seems so-
Asia was
that's-
so late, so you could argue that East
I think
Asia
that's
kind of
fine.
got
Like
screwed
when
there.
like they were playing games, so you
Yeah,
know,
Brazil
close,
didn't play it either. So EMEA and Brazil, and then everybody
So
else.
like that's a huge like disadvantage for like one tournament a year, and they're playing a different map pool. Like, you know when we go to champs for like the open circuit for VCT, and we talk about the LCQ teams having a disadvantage
Mhm.
because they like
they
this
couldn't
is that
play
on
Pearl. They couldn't
steroids.
play Fracture. Yep.
This but on steroids, like even more time, right?
I don't know.
So-
I feel like we between all those teams, they've had a little bit more time too. Like the EMEA and Brazil because they played first. And on
That's
top
fair.
of that, like it's a month and a half here between the time that they play. Maybe even 2 months for some of these teams.
Wait,
Um,
so what was the start? Like, did they actually start just later? America started later than Europe.
I think it was like a week later. Yeah. Let me check.
Yeah, so
Okay, I guess
America's
it comes down to like the timings of things. But
yeah,
to me,
it was
like if
2
you're able
weeks.
to get
It was 2 weeks, not just a week. October
Two-
8th.
two
Oh,
weeks
they
or
they
two-
finished at the same time, but EMEA started earlier.
yeah, so to me, I don't know. There seems to be some shenanigans going on. Like to me, like that is a slight advantage to.
What are you
Like-
claiming? What are you claiming? Some collusion here? You trying to get a
I think Mini and
Shopify
I can
winner,
agree
or
that
what's going
America's
on
has
here?
got an unfair advantage.
That-
and the other
like,
regions should get a buff.
Is that a hot take to say that like teams that played officials on the map that's coming up in the big tournament?
No, I know
should
it's not. That's not a hot take. Like I think you're right. But what are you claiming? Like what? The Americans
claiming that
are rigging the tournament or what? Like what's going on?
Okay, you can read that into it if you want to. All I'm saying is that those teams will have an advantage.
Yeah.
That's
so,
as simple as it is.
I didn't. This is not a map that I watched of SMG, but yeah, they did play Sunset one time.
It was one time, and
yeah.
their defense was meh, but then they steamrolled their attack with Neon, so it worked.
Yeah. So all right,
Neon.
they have
Sunset,
a
huh?
little bit of footage out there, small amount of footage. All right, let's keep it pushing to the next game though, which is Team Liquid, the Brazilian representative, on their home ground in Sao Paulo
Wyatt,
versus
I
G2.
abstain.
Goes in last year's.
I
winner.
won't talk about I won't talk about Gozen. Nope. I abstain.
You're just not talking about them at all.
Is that
No,
because you
just
guys
because-
messed up so badly last year,
No,
not
no, no, no,
realizing
no,
that
no, no,
3 of the
nothing to do with that.
players
No, no,
were
no, no.
literally goats of FPS?
I mean, yeah, we
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I just
an all-time
I'm clearly
Plat
biased.
miss. All-time historic misfire last year.
Like this is like I know you memed about the LAN thing, and I'll be honest, like usually it's a bit of a meme, but I think when GC is so like in its development period, where it's like this is its second LAN, and you've got players on G2 who have been in LAN environments for 10 years, like that's the only, like it's a bit of a meme back in Reykjavik, like for the, for us, the first LAN, like because everyone was kind of just whatever, like it's fine, but yeah, this is a big difference between. The thing is like contextually, G2's roster is weaker than it was last year. Like, I'll be honest, quite significantly weaker. Mary's left to go do school, which is a very mature decision. Giuliano's left for Counter-Strike. And so they're left with Petra, Mimi, Glance as their core. And then they've got Sarah and Roxy coming in. Roxy's got some LAN experience from last year. But,
I thought you were gonna say, yeah, Mary left for school, very mature decision, and Juliana left for Counter-Strike, very immature decision.
I was gonna flame because I think she's on the ropes right now, so I was gonna flame, but like I don't actually know. I don't actually know how she's doing over there, so I couldn't flame really. So yeah, like G2 kind of struggled with the split. So this is the narrative going in is gonna be like, is that struggle just like an online thing, and then they're gonna go to LAN, and it's gonna be like a G2 kind of, But the difference is that they rely so much on Mimi and Petra in terms of firepower right now. compared to last year. Like
Yep.
last year, it was like Mimi was just like the like little cherry on top, just like helping out, and Petra was like the cherry on top. Whereas like Mary was just there killing everyone. So like they're kind of struggling with that right now. It feels like if Mimi doesn't pop off as the support kind of aspect of the team, like it's kind of a struggle. So it's going to be a LAN experience thing that will win them games if they win games, I think.
100%. I shoot them a hell of a lot of bail because I have to go the opposite. But like, even looking last year, like thinking about this type of stuff I was thinking about that team, like they improved a lot. Especially Mary's like integration, because she only played one series of game changes before that. Like she became really good, and I would put that on the experience of like Mimi and Petra to help their teammates get a lot better, and just like the vibes for them, man. They just like make everything fun. And people who've gotten introduced to this team over the last couple of years have like realized that, like, and that's a key to their success. With that being said, like, yeah, I mean, they almost did not qual for this event. Like, that's crazy. This is the team that won last year. They almost did not qual. Maybe we're having the same like the winner's curse coming here in VCT, but like it's they almost didn't qual. They were one game away from not qualing.
Something I thought last year was that I was kind of like, when they won, the way they played when they won, I thought that like it was a trap for them to then continue to play this kind of loose style. Whereas when I watch them now, I think their map theory is like really strong right now. Like when like they copied our kind of split comp, and like they actually understand it in a way that like I think a lot of the teams don't understand it. So they do have that map theory. It's just when it comes to just killing people, they're struggling a little bit right now. Like some players are just going missing.
When I was watching the finals or the last game that Goes and played against Ascend, I guess it would have been, like I feel like they won this game because of map theory, but they lost this game because of a hell of a lot of blunders, like big blunders by individual players, whether it's whiffing a shot or forgetting about something, and that definitely could get patched up. Don't get me wrong, but it's also something that I think, like with the pressure of their performance, their results, and two players who are as storied as Mimi and Petra, like you're trying to live up to a lot to replace that.
The other weird thing was that they played that open circuit thing with Focus, the invite kind of
Red Bull thing,
yeah,
the qualifier.
Red Bull, yeah.
And Petra was playing Raze on Raze maps. And so I wonder if that's like a Petra trying to like take over the game kind of vibe, if that's going to actually be something that happens. Like, I think Sarah still played Jet on the Jet maps, but yeah, Petra was playing Raze, which wasn't something they did at all before. And I don't know if that's just because it's like a tournament that doesn't matter as much to them, or that's something they're trying to like integrate to try and counteract some of the firepower issues that I see.
Yeah, possible. Well, there was one more thing with G2. I don't remember what it was at this point, but like, yeah, I think the LAN experience should carry them to, we should see them win a couple games, but I'm not putting them at, winning the tournament type of thing. That's not their ceiling, I think, with the roster that they have. I could see, top 3, top 4, something like that, but winning is going to be difficult when you have, super teams coming from every single region. And that's the nature of an 8-team tournament where one team qualifies from every region. But
Ascend are free agents right now. So, there might be something on the cards for them, depending on how this tournament goes.
All right, going to.
All I'm saying is I'm the GM at G2. There's a super team being made, and there's another super team being made.
Absolutely.
Jumping over to Liquid, though, how are y'all feeling about them, in comparison, but also just in their own right?
I think this game overall was a 50-50 to me. Like,
I think
TL edge it is like maybe like more firepower. They upgraded their roster slightly from last year, I feel like, with Byzera, I think, joining. So Bastarda and Byzera feel like they're kind of firepower. Like as long as one of them pops off, they seem quite good. I think Brazil as a region feels quite strong right now. It's almost a shame that they only have one invite. They have like 3, maybe 4 teams that kind of could probably win some games at this tournament. And on top of that, they get to play open circuit a little bit. So like all those kind of things that like in EMEA like just isn't really a thing. Like open circuit isn't really a thing. Yeah, I think they're in a good spot to like do damage. The issue is they've got the hardest bracket in my opinion, the hardest route to kind of go deep. Like they could stumble against G2 and then they might be playing against I think SMG or EG. So it could look bad, but like they're actually quite good.
Yep.
I
would agree.
yeah,
I think their firepower is strong. And I mean, I know you guys don't like to talk about the outside factors, but you know, the fact that you're not going to have to travel and you're able to just continue playing.
Oh, that's a huge buff. I think that's a huge buff.
That.
Oh no,
aren't they playing in the literal same studio that they normally play in? Like, I think they're playing.
Is that... Okay.
I might be wrong, but
sure.
like I'm pretty sure they play in the CBLOL like studio when they play.
That's
their finals.
huge.
That's
That's actually massive.
To be clear, the outside factor that we hate is this is their first LAN narrative.
Just the first.
The amount of times that's brought up, and I had to bring it up, but every time we bring that up and someone is serious about it, like, oh, I don't know, they always perform fine. There has never been an underperformance in the history of this fucking game, yet every time the narrative comes up. So that factor is just, I'm over it. It's out the window. I'm done with that. That is the worst of all the narratives in the history of this game and the history of this show. All right, Chober, go on.
Yeah, so then going back to it, I mean, not only do I think mechanically their average is probably slightly favored in this matchup, but then, you know, against just like the comfort level, like all of that combined, I think I agree it probably seems like a 50-50, but I think it feels like a 50-50 just because of G2's like veterancy. But if we were to kind of ignore that part, then I think Team Liquid slightly edged them out. I mean, we're always going to repeat the fact that, again, it's just like cross regions and it's just the one tournament per year, so like we don't really know. But I agree. I mean, I think they look upgraded, and even last year people were like trying to hype them up, although, you know, they didn't actually perform to that hype very well, but they did upgrade, so I think you have to favor them a bit.
Who did they lose to? I feel like they had really close games, didn't they? I think, but I could be wrong.
I hear
I could
Kurt
also-
typing away. He's about to pull it up. Fiercely typing.
Oh, I think that was me. Oh no, he's a beast.
Um,
Oh, last year it was Shopify in the lower.
Oh, actually, no, they did go high, but then they just got crushed by G2 Ghosts, so never mind.
right.
I guess I held them
The
too highly.
Shopify game was close, if I remember correctly. Like when they ended up going out, I think
Yeah, like,
everything
this
was
is-
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close.
They were very good last
Close
year.
I
loss
think
to
this
G2.
is the nature of GC in general. Like one LAN a year. Like you remember Zeta's run where they like beat everyone? Like we just don't know if someone's done a Zeta run or not because there's no like data points to go off of. So it's like
Okay, but
You know,
we
we're not gonna
do- we-
excuse
no,
this,
Minnie,
but-
come on, we do. Liquid has won like every single event in Brazil, like ever at this point. Like they've lost like
yeah, but you don't know compared to other regions. Like
sure, but when you compound that with a good performance at a LAN at the international, you could
Oh,
you could
okay, I'm
pretty
not-
safely say that like they're not pulling
sorry,
a Zeta.
I wasn't making that point in the
Okay.
isolation of Brazil. I've just told you that I thought Brazil's really strong and I think this
Yeah.
team's really good.
Yeah.
But like we don't know. Like this is just one of the things in general. Like it's really difficult to just contextualize. I guess like
Yeah, I mean, I think they're on track to follow the DRX route of being the best in your region and always going out in third and fourth. So I guess they win the first round and then they'll lose in the upper finals again.
Mhm.
But yeah, if they've upgraded from last year, I think they should be favored a little bit.
Yeah, I've got them in that like 62 to 38% advantage range here. I feel like watching Liquid, my take is they're just a solid team all around. I don't think there's an aspect of the game they're lacking. They're just solid all around. I favor them over G2, though I don't think a G2 win is out of the questions by any means. But I'm edging Liquid, sure. So are we Liquid all around, or what's the
Yeah, I'm with you, too.
consensus? We're just all Liquid? All right. So Liquid go through in the second game of the upper quarterfinal, and then we are on to the BBL Queens, which is just such a great team name, versus Crew Blaze. Minnie, the BBL Queens. Give me the heat check.
BBL. Like this is I think an easy game for BBL. I think I don't know too much about the history of the BBL roster like I do know the G2 roster. The only thing I know is that Vania is IGLing and like just diffing everyone. Like So like they do need Vanya to just diff everyone. I think in terms of strategy, they're one of the weaker teams at the event, but that doesn't matter when Vanya just kills everyone. Like they do like scripts, like they like script every round that I watched, and it was like really obvious tells that like I think if they played like SR, Mel's gonna just watch them, be like, okay, when they do this cage, it's an A split, so just make sure we're ready for A split, and it would be that simple, I think. But if they've had enough time to kind of reinvent their scripts in a tournament like this, where it's like instantly bracket stage, like I think they get a bit of advantage for that. But I think their map theory was a bit weaker than like G2's, for instance. Like they were just like on split, they just played 2 people on A site no matter what. They didn't care if there was a cage being thrown or a Viper wall being thrown on A. They just sat on A the whole round, didn't rotate any single round. It was a bit like, okay, what are they doing? So I think in general, Vanya needs to kill everyone. And if she does, then they could still win some games. If they don't, then it's going to be hard. But I think overall, in comparison to Crew, like I think Crew is probably one of the weaker teams at the event, I think.
Say that about my crew, baby. Don't say that about my crew.
Are we running it back, Ball?
I'm cursing them for you.
Are you running it back on Crew
I'm
this
not
year?
running it back. I'm not running it back. I promise. No trolling, except we already put G2 goes and out. But I mean, you know what it is. It is what it is.
It's not troll, I'm telling you.
That matchup's just
Troll.
the toughest one, to be honest. The Team Liquid G2 one.
It's troll, but I'm
Yeah.
still going with Liquid. I mean, I'm just saying, like.
Yeah, so Crew, like, honestly, I watched one VOD where they won like 13-4, and I was like complaining all the way through the VOD that they were like just doing with it, like stuff I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And so I don't have that much for read, but like they didn't look super great when I was watching.
Yeah, I was less impressed with the crew than I mean, from last year. They made a couple of changes. Kinnear, who was the like most hyped player on this roster last year, who like played in certain levels of challengers and or not challengers, but like low, almost qualifying to like the main leagues of the main circuit of ECT. Like he wasn't as impressive. And I think this is one of the regions the most where it's like this team is just way better than everybody else. So it's very difficult to actually see what that individual skill level looks like when they're just absolutely destroying everybody. And then they're playing BBL. I think BBL is really freaking good. And I would say, like, yeah, I agree with you, Minnie. Like, in terms of map theory, they're not as high as like G2 or EG or Shopify or anything like that. But I think their micro is insane. Like, I think Philippa is a fantastic breach player and initiator player in general. And like, they set themselves up really well. Those scripts are good. Like, if they can,
they are good. Yeah.
If they can like fall into them, then. And
It's
they
a bit
are
like
let fall into them. I think Crew, for example, is a team that would let them easily fall into them.
Yeah, for sure.
They definitely will struggle later on, but BBL's insane. They're very
It reminds
good.
me a bit like Summon FC when we started, where it's just like just scripts every round, just throwing the most insane. Like as long as the kind of script was there, and we kind of like they know we're coming A, but who cares because we've got like the coolest util combo. I mean, so like that does work.
Yeah.
And their Sentinel player, I remember distinctly understanding lurking. You know, I was kind of comparing them to Alpha, a little bit, where like Alpha's actually just like more inty than this Sentinel. Like the Sentinel actually had a more cerebral
Bro,
understanding.
are you watching Plat in the background? What's going on there? That's crazy.
I'm watching myself.
Yeah,
I was gonna troll and like put up some stuff on the screen, but I don't know.
just leak
I saw your
some
Twitter
secret-
DMs earlier, so I know. You know, I know.
Yeah, you got to
what's
put
going
some fake leaks on the screen in the back. That would have been that would have been a great bit. I agree with genuinely. I think I agree with everything both of you have said at this point. To raise an additional point, I do like their style. It is different. They are running like the breach in the sky very often on maps where you don't necessarily expect it, and they'll forego other agents. Like on Lotus, they'll run breach sky, and they won't have a Viper, and then their execs are just really explosive. And I think a lot of that also comes down to the setup is great, but to me, Alkia is top 2 duelist in this event with Floor. I think her awareness is incredible. On the site execs, she is really, really adept at taking the right peaks at the right times out of her smokes, playing off the utility, knowing where the defender is going to be, always ready for the duels. Like, she is the one cracking open the sites. Their attack sides are great, and they wouldn't be if you didn't have a duelist with that much of a good mind for how to play those intense exec situations. She's really keen there. And I, for that reason, on top of what you guys have previously stated, I am rating them really highly, but as Minnie said, total agreement. I am concerned maybe when we go later in the tournament that their game plans are very, as you said, like scripted and just not particularly hard to read. And then you're just watching them play against some of the EU teams, like they're playing against Ascend. They're literally just, they're running the same hits over and over and over, doing the same thing, but they're just banging them out on sight. Their scaling is great. The individuals are sick. But I definitely have them winning this game for sure. And then from there, we'll see. Because crew are kind of they're the opposite of what I was saying for Team SMG, where when you're watching a team just roll everybody in their region. For me, SMG, where the main focus on that was the team play. But for me, crew, we're banging everybody out and just getting wins against these teams that can't compete mechanically.
4-0? I think it's a 4-0.
Is this just a 4-0, Chober? Do you have anything else? Do you have anything you want to add?
To be fair, Crew's probably the team I watched the least of, or with the least focus, I guess, on top of it. So
I mean, I had the least focus too. Those observers were wild. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Those observers were wild.
I think we all watched that VOD then a bit tired, and like there is a chance that like they're actually just really good at it. I was really hungry watching that VOD, so
I was watching one last night, and bro, I was laughing so hard because there was a round where Crew just like killed 4 people, and the observer just cuts to the player cams before the last player's dead. And I'm like, damn, that's fucking cold-blooded. Like, they just know they're gonna win. It was crazy.
So aside from that, I agree with all the points. I think just to expand a little bit on what Minnie was saying, on top of like BBL's perhaps like lack thereof of map theory, I think it's very apparent on their defensive side as well, is that whenever they do rotate, it's like very early, and perhaps that's because they want to run the scripts that they have, and that way if they have to all rotate back, like they still have another script in their mind. So we'll see if that comes to bite them back on certain maps.
I just love the image of them just being robots running programs. That's a fucking just running the scripts.
All right. So that is BBL going through. They're in that second semifinal bracket. And then the final game, we have EDG against Shopify Rebellion, aka version 1. Shout out to Shopify. They just get to sponsor they just get to sign the V1 team before
we didn't even talk
champions.
About that. That's crazy.
I mean, they just I don't know the details exactly on what is going on there. If there's something we can pull up.
So version 1 is merging with G2. Like they're getting bought by G2, so there was a conflict of interest.
Yes.
So V1 could literally not field the same team as while G2 was there, because they're literally ongoing deal that's happening, and you can't have that conflict of interest at a line like this. So they just got sold. I don't know what the exact details were for Shopify to acquire them, but I assume that the roster was sold.
What does V1 have that G2 want? If it's not their VALORANT team.
World of domination. I don't know, actually. I have no clue. Rocket League? There's like a big Rocket League
their Rocket
presence?
League seems good, I think.
Okay.
I have no clue.
Anyhow.
Money?
Let's dig into the game here. I'm interested in seeing how highly you guys are going to be rating the Shopify team in this tournament overall. But they're going up against EDG. Jober, what are your thoughts here to begin with EDG?
Yeah, so I think even with the full roster, I think Shopify would be favored, but maybe not drastically. But for those who don't know, EDG is going to have to play, as far as I know, without their star duelist and kind of their like captain, so to speak. I don't think she's calling. I believe that's either split between Wawali and Clem, or it's just Clem. But so even though she's not the caller, she's the duelist. She's their opper. In China, she was kind of the duelist to go after. And she continued to prove it during the East Asia finals as well, and the East Asia qualifiers. But she won't be going with the team. Now, the good news is they've always had a 6th player in Blue, and Blue actually played with EDG during the China finals to qualify for East Asia qualifiers. They lost the finals, and supposedly, if you watch, you can tell it's that they don't have as many plans without Lisa. They just have Blue, and they're like, well, we're good enough, so let's just like let's just go in and fight, and you kind of rely on trades and whatnot, and it's pretty good, but it's not good enough when you're going against the best of the best. So I think with that caveat in mind, I don't think they beat Shopify. I do think it's a pretty big blow, even if you've had Blue on the roster for a long time. But I will also say, overall, though, I think the consistency of this team actually isn't Lisa. It's actually Yixin and Simi Liu, in my opinion. They're kind of the backbone of the team. Yixin has like really good clutches as the smokes if she's left alone. She's always there to be able to clutch when needed. And then Simi Liu has really good setups for the team, and also just really, really impactful multi-kills. So in my head, they're kind of the ones you rely on more, but at the same time, to actually win like a full tournament, you needed the explosive power of Litsa. And then also when Litsa's there, their executes and everything are just cleaner. You can just tell that the practice that they have with the full roster is just by far ahead. So it's unfortunate. It's another one of those. There's going to be asterisks, but I mean this time it's just the team.
I mean, at least they could plan for it, right? Like in comparison to EG, like that was completely out of the blue. No pun intended.
Yeah. They knew that this was always a possibility, so that's why they always had Blue on board. And so at least it's not as big of an asterisk. I mean, this is like okay, well, stuff happens, but we knew that it might, so we were prepared for it.
Well, right. I can't. Out of the blue.
That was, I mean, again, literally unintended.
Yeah,
but you like that though, right? You like that.
Yeah, you got me. For me watching EDG, in agreement with what you said, Shober, and even if they had their full roster going up against a team the caliber of Shopify, I just don't think their team play is close to Shopify's team play. I think that's where the biggest struggle will come in for them. I think specifically on defense, I like their setups and I like their openings. I think they have good game plans there, but on attack, I think from what I had watched, they were struggling to play as a unit at times. There were too many players in moments on rounds just floating alone, and they were as a unit losing track of what the end effort execute would be, where they're intending to go as a team. And it would kind of, a lot of rounds, it would just be hobbled together at the very end, but there would be like one player kind of floating on an island that wasn't able to help at the right time. I think that's where they were really struggling for me. And in those kind of moments, when they're lacking their star duelists as well against a team the caliber of Shopify, those attack rounds are just not going to cut it for me.
They're just way too slow. They're going to get eaten alive. I mean, unfortunately, I think the road that they have, they're going to get eaten alive. They give up way too much on both sides. Like on attack, especially, like they're sitting in spawn in some instances, like for whatever reason. And a team like Shopify is going to realize that. They're going to take extra space. They're going to farm all the ult orbs. Like they're going to get destroyed, I feel like. And I think especially like missing the firepower of Litu, like it's a situation where For me, the read on Shopify right now is it's very similar to Cloud9 White last year, where it was like kind of an experience thing, and the nerves stepped in majorly for Mel and calling and leading that team in general. And if you can't put a foot forward, like a good foot forward to play against Shopify right away or B1, like you're not gonna tap into any sort of nervousness, any sort of feeling of repetitiveness from Berlin last year for Mel. It's going to be really easy for them to get very confident very fast, I feel like, against EDG.
Yeah, I will just add, it's funny because when I was casting the East Asia qualifiers for Korea, we were talking about the CDG squad, and the conclusion we made was that they play like Paper Rex but at the pace of DRX. So they play by going for info individually and then working off of those and trades, but they play it at the speed of DRX without the set plays. And I was so curious. I was hoping they would make it to the championship because I was curious, like, well, is this going to work against global teams? Because, I mean, if it does, then this is like another Paper X situation of like, okay, I mean, they're seeing stuff that we're not, and we just have to adjust to their own style and tempo. But obviously, with Paper X, the tempo is actually, it's something that most teams just hadn't seen before. So I agree. They give up a lot of space. They work under a lot of assumptions, and then they rely on their trades to counteract those assumptions and clear if they need to. But again, I think it all comes down to all of that combined with your star duelist not being there, someone who you're always relying on opping really well as on top, that's going to be a huge blow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're just all we're for Shopify here, I'm gonna assume.
Yes.
All right, so that is BBL Queens versus Shopify in the second semifinal. Let's go down to the lower round 1. This is a tough one. EG versus G2 Gozen. Tough that one of these teams is gonna go out in 2, according to us, but we're right. So who's going out, fellas?
In this case, I think I'd have EG going out. I think obviously you win that first upper quarters, and it's a much easier path to like a deep run. And I think that's kind of where I was thinking with EG. But like if they go down to SMG, they're definitely weaker than I was anticipating. And then like I also think that G2 is probably just stronger in general than them. So I go G2.
It's a rough bracket because I think I look at this lower bracket, and I think that EG and G2 maybe beat both the teams below potentially. Maybe that's a hot take about EDG, but I think it's a rough one.
I would agree about like Crew and
G2.
Xiaohui. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm split. Sorry. So what are you leaning towards right now, Minnie?
I wasn't sorry. What I was making the point of is that like one of these teams, EG or G2, are going to come at last, but I think they're better than both the teams below them. It's one of those ones where it's like the narrative is like, oh, we're the worst team at the tournament, but not really, kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
Lower bracket. I don't know. I don't know. if EDG had their full roster, then definitely EDG. But if not, to me, I don't know. I truly don't know.
I mean, for that game, that's a coin flip for me too. By the way.
Sorry, hold on. Wait.
Who are you going for EG and G2 though?
Yeah, for EG and G2. Wait, sorry. I'm getting drenched in the sauce.
Someone had clicked G2, so I was just like, we're going G2.
No, Kurt it just has a trigger. He has a happy trigger finger. That's the problem. Okay. We're still on EG
can't
G2.
bet against the champs.
He just can't stop clicking the mouse button.
Okay, so Kurt is the secret.
You can't bet against G2 versus EG without their star player.
Yeah, I think
well, Kurt, you in fact can, and I'm gonna. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Yeah, at this point as well, EG down in the lower bracket, which I really do think they're gonna lose to Team SMG. Yeah, I gotta go with G2 here. I don't think it's gonna be. I think this is a close game for sure. I don't think EG are gonna get blown out by any means. But this is another like 60-40 kind of game for me. We'll go back to that 62-38. You know what I mean? And
so,
I'm rolling with
bad for
G2.
EG. Like I hope they don't like look at the picture and just go, oh, you know, that's how it is. Because like I feel like we've said enough like good things about them that like they are a good team.
I'm telling you, they're not going to be here. Like I don't know why we're talking about this.
Okay.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is I agree with Minnie that the top portion of even the upper bracket, right? Those 4 teams, that's just rough, right? Sending any of those to the lower bracket and then sending one of those home early is that's hard. So yeah, I agree. I don't think, you know, if we're moving on with G2, which I would agree with, I don't think EG should look at that and be like, wow, people like really underrate us. I mean, it's not that. It's just that every opponent that you're potentially facing is one of the best.
So you would say SMG go out last, Bala?
Yes.
Bruh. All right. Well,
yeah.
no,
Well, I mean, yeah. They'd have to play Gozen or Team Liquid. Like, no, I'm sorry, but
I'm not setting you up for a trap. I was just asking genuinely.
oh, I'm comfortable with this trap, bro. I'm comfortable. Like, I'm chilling. I've never been wrong on a pick'em before. Like.
Yes. Game Changers Champions 2022 never happened. That was all fabrication.
Very
of your
knowledgeable
mind.
about Game Changers.
Okay, so Chober, wait, what are you rolling with on EG G2? G2 as well.
Bro.
All right, so we have G2 going
big
through in the
echo
lower
chamber
round.
up in here. 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. Except for one game. I wonder.
All right, we have and then in the second lower round one, that is Crew versus EDG. This is another tough one. I want to say Crew might have them beat in the firepower department.
This is where Crew go on a run, motherfuckers. They're going on a run. They're going. They're
All right,
going.
it's decided. It's decided. It's EDG. It's been spoken.
What's Balor's track record for real? Like, what are your guys' track record for who's usually good?
In
between
terms of
Wyatt and
predictions,
Balor?
I'm pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
In terms of pick'ems, I'm ass, bro. I am
What does that mean?
terrible.
What's the difference between predictions?
Predictions is like you know the match and you've seen them like very recently. Like you like most of the time we've seen like the last week or whatever, so you know what their form is like. Whereas pick'ems, bro, like you're guessing on what their form's gonna be for an entire tournament, and you never get to go back and like revisit it. So pick'ems, I'm just horrible. I'm good at like the opening games most of the time, but I'm horrible down the line. Which is funny because I feel like I make like a lot of points about like, oh, this is gonna go this way, and they're gonna be in form here, and blah blah blah, and like stylistically they're this, but like it doesn't fucking matter. They just get shot in the face.
We're gonna be right this time. I swear to God. I'm rolling with Crew as well, Balla. I'm rolling with Crew for this one.
Let's go.
Oh, I'm putting my vote in for EDG in the lower bracket.
Mini.
I think that's where they keep the hope
a
alive.
tiebreak.
I defer to Kurt. What does Kurt think?
No. Kurt's the fucking coin
Well,
flipper.
Yeah,
I'm
Get a
gonna have
voice
the
here.
coin flip because both these teams have the best logos in the tournament. So
Yeah,
I like
This
the
is like, by the way, Sideshow was doing like a graphic design logo review, like on his last stream, because he hates the Gentlemates logo so badly. So I'm down if you ever do like a logo tier list. I'll be back on Plat.
Okay,
Just
great.
wanted to like.
We got
put
plenty
my-
of time in this off season, so yeah. All right, bet.
yeah. The December. Oh boy. we're gonna be doing whatever kind of random ass content we could possibly think of to fill this show.
Wilkinson's going to be producing the next episode. So
Oh yeah!
we'll
oh
see
my
how that goes.
God! Yeah, Kurt's gonna be gone, and Josh is producing the next episode.
Why?
Jesus.
Why? Okay, anyways.
so-
that's a terrible idea.
It is a terrible
Technically
idea.
bricked his PC while helping him to set it up. So
All right.
did we want to do a coin flip for these teams?
Well, it
Since
depends
we're
on what
divided?
Mini's going for. Are you going for Crew or EDG?
I defer to the majority.
There's no
no
majority,
majority.
Minnie. It's 2-2 if you vote for EDG.
Wait, what? Why is it 2-2?
It's 2-1 right
It's
now.
2-1.
You're
So
the-
2-1 is the majority. I go with the 2-1.
Bro, you can't just abstain. This is a fucking opinion show, man.
Yeah, you got to give a
Like-
take. Sorry,
Crew,
you got to get
there
a
we
take,
go.
or you're about to get
All right, there we
ejected.
go.
We're gonna bring in a random viewer from the YouTube chat. So those are the two options on the table right now.
I vote Crew.
Man.
All right,
Unlucky.
Crew through. Now we're up into the upper semifinals. Team SMG versus Team Liquid. I'm
Liquid
gonna be
guys.
bold, and I'm going with Team SMG.
I can't join you on this crusade. I'm going with Liquid here.
Yeah, I got Liquid.
That's fine.
I'm
Listen,
going Liquid as well. I
That's fine.
appreciate it though. Why? Because that tells me you really believe, and
I'm going
I'm
bold.
like I'm starting to believe too, man. I'm
I
starting,
would,
but not here.
I would have, but no
You're
one believes
starting
in
to
Zeta
believe
Division, huh? But we're not talking about that because I'm not talking about Zeta for the rest of this year.
Actually though, so here's the thing. I think SMG is strong enough to make it deep into the tournament, but I guess I guess that's not how you're supposed to do pick'ems. You have to do it match by match, but it's like if they lose, they have to go against G2, so it's like it's another tough one.
You're falling into a pick'em trap, bro. Like it's not.
Yeah,
that-
I know. I do this every time.
All right.
But no, yeah, I'll go with Liquid still.
All right, we got Liquid going through. That's fine, everybody. That's fine. I'm listen. That's fine.
That, by the way, was just the like literal. You just saw mental gymnastics go on. That's why.
All right, the Queens versus Shopify Rebellion, the big match.
All right,
Winner of
Queens.
EU. Well, not the winner of NA, but you know they're V1. They're Shopify. You know the vibes. All right, this is a tough one. For sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, they won by losing because they ended up being actually able to play this tournament because Shopify didn't make it, so they actually got the next level contract.
True. That is true.
Oh my god.
Wait, what the heck?
Oh, this is tough. I mean, to
I
kick
go
it,
Shopify here, by the way.
Saying tough.
you going
bro. Come
Shopify?
on,
Is it because of the
Yeah,
point you
I'm-
made earlier, basically about Mel and the counter stratting, the preparation, that kind of stuff?
I think the firepower is just as good, if not better, on SR, and I think the strats are better on SR. I think they're a better team. Yeah, they're just better. The thing is, I don't
I mean,
I
listen.
don't actually know much about SR in terms of, like, when I was watching, I was a bit surprised. Like, I had expectations watching the VODs of them being a bit different than how they were. They were playing like double dive split and like default, like they did like an AX like you would expect, like a fast strat, and then they started defaulting mid over and over and over again. And I was like, why? That your comp isn't for defaulting, like your comp is to go. So I was a bit confused by that. Like, so I don't really know what. But then while I showed them oh, by the way, yeah, I've got the only Breeze VOD in the world of this team. So if anyone, again, I put it out on Twitter, if anyone needs a Breeze VOD of this team,
Shopify? It's Breeze?
Yeah.
They played Breeze in the finals.
Oh, okay.
You're
okay.
trolling. Trolling a little.
But you have the second VOD available. What is this secret
have two.
VOD that you have? What is this from?
Did they actually play in the finals?
Yeah, but they played a different comp.
Okay, there you go. Like, this comp is legit. Like, their BXEC is incredible. So if anyone wants it, I've stolen it for Clutch players already. Like, you know, it's good. So yeah, like they do have good stuff on Breeze. But like, I was a bit confused by Split. So I'm like, I don't really know what to think about their overall approach to the game. Like, I was listening to an FE's interview yesterday where it's like they're a bit looser than I thought they'd be. Like, so yeah, I guess my general point is I don't know if it's going to be like a tactical breakdown of BBL like you were kind of setting up, but I think it's well within their kind of intelligence to do so if they wanted to.
Gotcha.
They should do it. They just need to extract them. Like,
gotcha. I'm really struggling with this one, and maybe I shouldn't be, but I can't help but just think of champions last year with C9 White not living up to expectations, and maybe I shouldn't care about that.
Is this another pick'em trap though, where it's just like
it might be a pick'em
like this
trap.
is like if this wasn't a team that had only two players from last year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it feels like.
Well, this is Floor's first international LAN. You should gotta be able to. I can, but I.
Dude, it's funny because like he was on here the last episode when he was doing the tier list, and he was like doing this thing with Team Liquid about the Apex players choking a bunch, and he was like, "Yeah, there's two players on this team who are just notorious chokers." And here you are, like, yeah, they only got two players. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but the difference is that I think there is a slight difference in the fact that I guess there's one sample size of C9. They've gone to one tournament and underperformed to the expectations that we as the kind of community set for them. So it's almost like a...
Yeah, and also, you know what? Now get that point, get that narrative the fuck out of here. Because at that event, Alexis overperformed at LAN. She was going crazy.
Alexis did go crazy.
So... Yeah, get that narrative's done. We're getting that narrative out of here.
I think a lot of players. I think a lot of players played fine. I think what happened was I personally, I always look back at this, and I hate to do it, but I always look back at this and I point my finger at Mel. I look at her even in the first game against Crew back then, and I'm saying she's nervous. Like, the calling is not as good. She's not as communicative. Like, I can see this body language wise on the stage, and that ends up really compounding in the G2 game and further on too. Like, I really think that it was an overall problem with how that team felt at that event being completely different. And you've heard her talk on podcasts plenty of times about, like, you know, like they had never lost up to that point, like, and especially comparing like the V1 or the Shopify run right now. God damn, that's hard. Like, they at least they lost here against EG, so they have that experience and whatnot. But like, it's, to me, I haven't fully seen it be resolved yet. And the only time I'm ever going to be able to see it fully resolved is at an international tournament like this. And this would be the moment for it to crop its head up. But I don't believe it will, because I think, like I said against CDG, I think there's way too much here to make Mel and the team comfortable. There's way too much. And when I say too much, I mean Floor. Floor is too much. She's the fucking GOAT. She could play on a challengers team to me. She is so good. And I feel like that, it doesn't matter what you're going to face. It doesn't matter how good the other team is too. Like, Floor is going to make you confident.
Yeah, I think there's probably two things. I've never really thought about this Mel narrative, but if what you're saying is true, I think there's two things. It's the fact that their team, I think, is overall upgraded from last year, which is crazy to think about. But then the second thing is her role, like, is more easier to call from, I think. Like, when she's playing Chamber, calling, I think I would be nervous doing that. You know what I mean? Like, so I think she'd probably set up better. And we hear it from all the podcasts and stuff. Like, if this was genuinely something that you got to read on, she just seems like the kind of person who's kind of worked through it. And I know she hasn't, like, I know we haven't seen it, but if there was anyone I would trust in GC to kind of overcome something like that, it would be Mel, you know?
So, all right. Shopify. So you two are going Shopify?
I would also vote Shopify.
All right, we got 3 Shopifys.
Echo chamber.
You didn't even have to. You didn't have to worry about your difficulty
might not
choosing
be in the echo chamber again, but I might also just be high as hell
just
with my
unique,
takes today. I don't know what's. So it doesn't even matter. All right, Shopify are going through. Shopify are going through. Shopify card. All right. Lower round 2. So the upper final is Liquid versus Shopify. Lower round 2, BBL versus Gozen. BBL all day. BBL all day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. BBL are winning.
Is this the only time I do the but land thing?
No, Minnie. Kurt, eject Minnie from the show. Get in a random chatter.
I want this to be the one that we go BBL, but I can do the Balor thing where, like, if it's the other way around, I could be like, you see? So this is my one.
That's my thing, by the way. You heard it here first. Copyrighted.
I've already stolen it.
So, any dissenters of the Queens?
Hey, Wyatt, real quick.
I think
I'm not a dissenter, but I vote not to eject Minnie because I think that there's an opposite here, right? You're talking about the LAN experience thing, like, you know, throw the narrative out. We're talking about like underperforming at LAN because you've never played there before, okay? But there are certain teams that are just gods on LAN, okay? There are certain teams who are just way better on LAN, and that's a fact from CS all the way here into Valorant. There's just teams that are like just way better. So I would definitely probably put G2 in that camp, but maybe not with this roster. So I still go with BBL.
We're bringing that point up, and they also just have 2 players from last time. We just can't stop talking
well,
about
Roxy was the GOAT on LAN last year too on Guild. She was insane. I was like, yo, she should play on whatever super team is coming out of EU next year because she was so good.
Yeah, she was the one keeping them alive.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways.
So we're unanimous.
Seriously? All 4 BBL? That's crazy.
No, I don't know. Before we got to it, in my head, I was like, yeah, I think I vote for G2. And then all of you guys were like, yeah, we vote for BBL Queens. Any dissenters? And I'm like, well, I don't want to be that guy. But I don't know.
It sounds like Wyatt's the only person who truly went in on.
I believe in the Queens.
Yeah,
I really do.
I'm starting to think we're all just...
I think
it's
they've had so many
one.
matchups this year. If I'm not mistaken, I think they played in both finals. I think they were close games in both finals. No, actually, let me think. G2 BBL was the first finals of EMEA this time around. I think they didn't match up in the finals, but they did some other time.
Yeah, they matched up a lot. Yeah,
and G2 usually has the better of them, like usually, but it's been a lot closer this year.
Yeah, this year they're 2-3 favor of BBL, I guess.
Oh, holy shit! Much
an
better
overall matchup. Yeah, because they met twice in stage. Oh, they met 3 times in stage 1, but G2 eventually won the grand finals, and then they met once in stage 2, and then once in stage 3. It looks like.
So.
If I was smart, I would have done like a map veto and figured it out. Because like Sunset and Breeze is like a massive thing here. That like, but neither teams have really like shown it.
Yeah, I would love to see you do a map veto thing for these 2 teams who didn't play the same pool.
No, but but what I mean is also like, are the maps going away from the pool? Strong maps are not for them. Like it's such
I know.
that's
I know
the kind of
mean.
crap.
100%.
So I don't know. Like again, like sorry, kind of on the fence, but I'm happy either way.
Happy if either team
Why
wins.
are you massaging your nips like that, bro?
That's not my nipples. That's my chest. Where do you think my nipples are?
Yeah, what? Where are your nipples, Bo?
I don't know, man. I was
You don't know.
I was like, I'm happy.
You never
with this.
checked.
Like,
Never paid attention.
We just got demonetized.
We got demonetized, but our Patreon got a new subscriber. Okay, all right. Order in the pod. I'm going with the Queens. I need the takes and the opinions right now. Chobra, who are you going with?
G2.
All right, 1 Queens, 1 G2. Bala?
BBL.
2 queens. Mini?
Let's be real, they're all queens, but
G2.
Kurt, pull up the coin.
Yeah, we gotta
Ooh,
pull
our
this.
first
I
coin
think
flip.
the only
Ooh, we gotta pull up the
guarantee
coin.
is if this matchup happens, it's gonna be a banger. Just by looking at the previous matchups.
The fans are going to win this game. Pull up the coin.
All right, who's who? Oh, wait, what? All right, this is a great coin website. Let's go.
All right, heads are G2.
Heads are G2.
Yep, flip it.
The
And
queens
that's the
win.
queens are
Wow.
taking it. That
I
is
never
tails.
lose a
All
coin
right.
flip on Plat.
BBL are
Never.
moving on. And then we've got Team SMG versus Crew Blaze. SMG.
Submachine gun.
So what does it actually stand for? Because
What was
it
it
can't be
again?
submachine gun.
It was still moving under gunfire.
No way.
Wait, what? Again, say it again. Say it again.
No way.
Say it again.
Still moving under gunfire.
Under gunfire. There's a U in there. It should be smug.
I'm looking this up.
I'm looking it up too.
Smug.
No, there's no way you made it up.
Moving under gunfire? What?
Hashtag still moving under gunfire, man.
What?
Bro, look at their Twitter banner. It's actually just like fucking. That's
That is
crazy.
I mean, all right.
So they can take the heat.
Guys,
they're
we
saying.
might need a
Take the heat.
rebrand at some point, but we'll worry about
Their
that after
logo's
we win
cool.
champions. I do like the logo.
This is for the
It is
next
cool logo.
Plat Chat episode, Wyatt.
Yeah, that's
Oh man.
that's for the logo rebrand episode. All right. Upper final, Team Liquid versus Shopify. I mean, listen, if we're getting there, it's Shopify. I'm seeing some heads nodding.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
waiting for words. This is an
I just don't
audio
wanna-
adventure that
unlocked
we're
me.
on, and I
Just
need
unlocked
words.
I saw Bala contemplate, and I thought he was about to like go on a
I
spree
was,
about.
but I'm not.
What are you
Shopify.
contemplating?
I'm not contemplating anything. Honestly, I
okay.
was just thinking about what I'm gonna eat for lunch.
Great time for that.
Okay. Shopify or Liquid Balla?
Shopify.
Shopify, 2 for
And,
Shopify.
and that's
Mini.
not. That sounds sad, but it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
sad.
Shopify.
It's just I want Team Liquid to do well too. But I mean, I guess they've done well if they made it to top 3. So
All right. We're Shopify'd up. They're winning it. Lower round 3, BBL Queens versus Team SMG.
We're the Queens.
Sadly, I think this is a good matchup for the Queens. I'm going to give it to them.
BBL from here.
So then we're into the lower final. Team Liquid versus BBL Queens. I'm going with the Queens.
I'm telling you, Team Liquid, they're on the DRX route. They're gonna continue to just fall out.
If BBL go this far, then it's BBL. But
but he
Yeah.
doesn't believe they're getting this far because
I don't know if they are.
I actually, because I would vote for SMG over BBL, but that's apparently just me. So
Yeah, no.
No, see, I'm putting SMG above just about any I mean, I'm not going to go on about SMG all day, but I have them in the top
yeah.
3. I think the best 3 teams in this tournament are SMG, Shopify, and BBL, but also I might be high as shit. So, but regardless, I'm going with the Queens in the lower final. Balla.
I'm going with Team Liquid. The home crowd buff. This just about to go crazy. Like they've got it. They're actually making it through the lower final this time, and they're not going to choke like they did against Shopify last year. And they're going to make it to the grand finals and lose, as is tradition.
Okay. Mini.
BBL, yeah.
All right. 2 BBL, 1 Liquid. Chobra.
I vote Liquid.
All right. Take it. We're going to the coin. We're
Give me the
going to the
coin.
coin again.
Give me the coin.
All right. Liquid our heads. Flip that coin. Oh, and Liquid are taking it. That's heads. All right.
Go.
Liquid are in the finals against Shopify, and then I'm going Shopify again, if that's the final.
Me too.
But it goes 2-0 Shopify, then Team Liquid go 2-0 again, so it's a
then
reverse
it's
sweep attempt, and then they go up 11-3 on Icebox, and then
And then,
and then
there's
Shopify
a,
wins.
and then there's a pause.
That sounds like
Mini
a great grand
appears.
final.
I think
There you have
SMG
it.
though, like I think the idea of them being like if Wyatt's this high on them and they're like coming fourth here, I'd rather this happens and then they just do really well than like we put them top 2 and then they just crash and burn. Like I think this is a nice pick'em for SMG. This is the way I would want my pick'em if I'm SMG.
Yeah, it's a safe pickup.
It's safe. Because my personal one is out of control with SMG. It's way too. I'm doing way too much. But if it comes true, I'm the genius of the game. All right, so that is the final pick'em. We have Shopify taking it down. Kurt, submit that pick'em to VLR.GG. Shout out to Carl. All right.
Dude, one day we're gonna get a perfect pick'em, and the internet is gonna explode.
Yeah, one day.
No one will acknowledge
Yep.
us getting it perfect. It'll just be completely unacknowledged unless we say something.
No,
that's cap. That's
No.
cap. But Kurt, you don't trust they're rabid, bro. They fucking go back and they're looking at every power ranking. Which one are we good at? Like, Plat is actually surprisingly accurate when we actually look at those.
That got like 10
That happens
upvotes.
all the time.
No one has ever said that. But eventually, it's like the monkey with the monkeys and the typewriter. Eventually, we will get one correct. So long as Valorant doesn't die within the next 20 years, at some point we're going to get a pick'em completely correct. I'm giving us 20 years, we can get one fully correct. Any less time?
We need more of these double Leland brackets to have it happen. This is the only chance we get.
All right. That is the end of the Game Changers pick'em. That was a deep dive. We really went in there. I'm with it. All right. So yeah, that Game Changers tournament, that is coming up on, what is the date again? November 28th. You can tune into that, and it's going to be going until December 3rd. So should be a sick tournament. All right. Weekly award, and then we're getting the hell out of here. That's what I say. Oh, what's that? It's time for Wyatt's Weekly Award? That one, I don't remember that one at all, but I like that one. I don't remember recording that, but we recorded so many. Holy shit. All right, the weekly award this week. I've got a lot of nominees, and I just don't know where to take this thing, you guys. So I'm once again, it's going to come down to a vote because I need help. So first of all, we have Faker, T1, League of Legends. He won the tournament for the 5th time. He's the GOAT. Is it 4th time? 5th time?
4th time.
For the 4th time. He's the GOAT. Potential winner.
Potential?
Also on the list, we have Dazners for taking down the Curry e-dating show. Another substantial victory. Dude, look at Curry. My man is fitted out in the top right. I like where he's taking it with the vest. I might give it to Curry for the fit, honestly. Surprise nominee, Curry in the top right. And then also, I was considering even giving it to, it's sort of like a toss-up between Bren and the actual like product, the tea itself, which I believe is called Hovenia dulcis, something along those lines. I'm mispronouncing that, but it is the secret tea, the elixir that Bren is always hyping up as the instant cure remedy to a hangover. Because myself,
tea tree root oil thing.
Yeah, we got up to some debauchery the other night. Because listen, we're moving away. We've got limited time left here in the compound. The fellas, the boys, we're going our separate ways, and so we were getting a little bit silly. And Bren and I we kind of retraced our steps, and it was like, wow, we really got wasted and drank a lot. And Bren gave me the magic tea, and it did cure my hangover so fast. It was wild. So that's another. So we've got 4 nominees, and I don't know where to take this thing. I think surprise pick. I think I'm going to give it to Curry for putting on the show and looking really handsome. That's my surprise nominee pick. I think I'm going to give it to Curry.
You can't encourage this, bro. The dating shows can't come to Valorant, man. This content is so
It's already happened.
cringe.
It is. You're absolutely right, which is why I didn't watch it. But I'm giving it to Curry for looking like a sharp dresser, handsome guy right there. Giving it to him for that.
Did you read the title of this video? 8 minutes trying to. What is going on with the youth?
This is the worst part of Valorant.
This
I'm
is
going to be
longer
real.
than a
You know what?
Swift
This
play.
doesn't deserve the award. I'm retracting it. The award is being retracted. Get it away from. You know what? It's going to Faker. He won the League of Legends World Championship final for the 4th time. Faker, surprise comeback victory. He's gonna take it down in a shocking twist.
Oh my God.
What were you gonna say, Kurt?
I mean, I'm just surprised. Well done, Faker.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
What a twist reveal. All right.
Oh man.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for special guests, Minnie and Chobra, joining us this week. Thank you for watching episode 155. We'll be back next week with the exclusive Josh Wilkinson produced 156. Surely there will be no technical issues at all in that show. So tune in for a flawless audio and video experience next Tuesday, or maybe Wednesday, the 28th or the 29th. We'll see you then. Until, have a good day. I don't know where I'm taking this outro. Bye.